starting some announcements anyways. Hello everybody. Just some quick announcements before we get started today. So I'm gonna start just releasing the video and the audio at the same time. I've been doing this thing where like I released the audio day before the video, and like there was like a slew a couple weeks ago where I had 3 podcasts in a row, and doing that whole was just a fucking nightmare. So I mean, a lot of it just depends on how YouTube ends up working out, but I have been managing to get it done in a day or the next day lately. So I think for now we're gonna put the audio and the video up on the same time, the same day. Hopefully the day after. If not, I will keep you all posted, and it will be the day after that. I'm usually very good about getting content up on a regular basis. Besides that, as always, we have ad spots open. The first 5 or 10, fuck it, I'm just gonna say 10. The first 10 episodes are free, and then after that, it's gonna be an insignificant amount. If you got business, if you got an entrepreneurship that you want to be promoting and letting people know, hey, check my shit out. This is the perfect opportunity. Besides that, we have Patreon. That has been going since the beginning. I have yet to adjust it, but for $1 a month, I will give you a shout out. I'll give you a shout out your Instagram. If you want Facebook, I guess I can shout out that. Your page or whatever, and that'll give you some credit too. So that'll, just a friendly old shout out at the end. That's all that is. For only $1 a month. And that's for every video. That's not just one. Like one video, $1 for one video. That's every video that month for that $1. So basically that $1 a month is just securing your place. I've been quiet on this whole thing pretty much. I think the only thing I've really, and when I say this, I'm talking about George Floyd, all the horrible things that have been happening, or that have happened with all that. And I'm not gonna say anything. I just want to announce that I'm gonna have Chef Dev. I'm just gonna call him Chef Dev, because I don't know if he wants me to give his full. We're just gonna call him Chef. We'll see. So he's just Chef for now. But he was actually on the front lines quite a few times during these protests. I saw a lot of his footage. He's going to be bringing that along, so we're going to dive into that and talk about that. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little anxious for that episode, but it's going to be really good. I'm really looking forward to it. After that, we got Shaky Sean coming up, I think, the next day. I think that day we're going to do a double header. We're going to do Shaky Sean, then later on we're going to do Lil Babyface Swalla. It's kind of a mouthful, but he seems like a really cool guy. A lot of cool music. So, without further ado, let's get to the motherfucking episode. Y'all, stay tuned. People complain about the echo, so that's something you don't want to do. I'm going to
use real life. That's where I'm at. I don't even use headphones for DJing anymore.
Really?
Yeah, nope. I have moved myself past that. I definitely recommend them for like the first 10 years of DJing, but now with the tools I have and stuff, I want to be in the listening environment that other people are hearing it. I was getting to the point where my headphones were so nice that I could hear beautifully, but some of the systems were so like a fat, ugly, beautiful system. You know what I mean? It's just not the like proper displacement of sound, but it's just heavy. So I was like, you're not going to get headphones that do this. I need to start listening to my environment. So now I exclusively don't use headphones 100%.
It's really interesting. I guess that is kind of like a preference thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Some people can go off that feedback.
Well, yeah. Well, and it's a newer thing with like the new visuals that we have and stuff like that. Like prior to being able to, I mean, especially computerized, you had to listen to the vinyl to be able to like hear what the BPM was, adjust it, know where you're at on the track. There was no visual representation of that. So. Yeah,
exactly. It was all. Yeah, I've kind of been thinking about that because I've been fucking with vinyls lately.
Okay.
Doing all the sampling. Rhythm Roulette. You ever?
Yep.
Yeah, I've been really getting into that lately. So cool. I kind of went to the record shop. What was it? A week ago. Picked 3 random records. Did that whole fucking thing, and I had a lot of fun with it.
Hell yeah.
I fucked around with it for like 4 hours. Just like, I had the speakers right here. I had the turntable right here, pad right here, everything. Just fucking had a hell of a time. It's awesome.
if you ever need samples, I'm probably sitting on 2,000 vinyls from like 1940s on. Ooh. And they're like sitting there for sampling. And
holy shit.
One of my best friend, Toby, he's an older gentleman, and so he's been collecting vinyls since like the early 80s. And like he been buying like the exclusive ones and stuff. So like we have such weird noises and weird vinyls. If you ever need samples, let me know. I'll gladly borrow them out anytime. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I have seen like on your Instagram like that setup. We'll get into that, but we've like basically already started at this point. But
we can step back.
Yeah, we're good. So let's just get the music in. Officially set the tone,
cool.
I suppose.
Cool.
Hello, everybody. You're watching / listening to the McAllister Hours. I am your host, as always, Colton McAllister. Today, I am very glad to be here today with House of Leopold, local DJ, EDM, is that correct?
Yep.
Kind of that.
Yep. EDM, hip hop,
you work with hip hop?
Anything but country, basically. I don't know country, but I love music.
A true gentleman right here.
Thank you.
That's always a distinction, but country, like everything.
Nothing against country. I literally just don't know anything about it. I'll be playing stuff that's from like 2000s, sexy tractor stuff.
Well, yeah, I didn't mean to derail. We were just in the middle of a great conversation. Derail with the music and all that. But so we were talking about your studio, your setup. If I'm not correct, you're familiar with around here Pacman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
he's a huge. He's a big. In my mind, he's like one of the most talented rappers in this state.
Agreed.
Period.
Agreed. For me, with him, I mean, his lyrics are powerful, and they match the music. The thing that I know or feel the most with it is the flow. I love being on stage with him. I get to DJ for him a lot, and I bring him out to a lot of my shows, especially the hip hop ones. And when he gets going, man, his flow's so heavy that I can just like tune into it, and he just keeps going. I'm able to scratch over the back of him. So like a lot of rappers like know their music and will time out their own lyrics to that, and they're hearing and operating in the same reality we are. He'll get into this flow, and I can't mess him up. I can do whatever I want behind him, and we can fly, and it's amazing. It feels so good. I remember almost every time I've been on stage with him, I bet.
How many times has that been? In
the last 3 years, I'm guessing close to 25.
Wow.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
he's one of them that whenever somebody books me and stuff, they're like, Seth, can you do your hip hop thing? Because I'll do like hip hop where I mix local to national, and I'll mix live to recorded, right? So I'm just mixing beats, and then when their beat comes in, they can come out and sing or whatever. Ooh. Or rap, and it has instead of being like a 15 to 30 minute block of the same rapper, we can get 6 rappers in over an hour, and everybody does 2-3 songs. Plus, I can keep a vibe.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. You kind of have that Wu-Tang, almost that Wu-Tang vibe going. Just everyone.
And I can use their music how I know, like to orchestrate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
keep that flow going. But yeah, no. So every time I get one of those, I pull him out there. He's one of my favorites. Him and G7 are two I usually grab.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna have a podcast with him very soon.
And Lolo Savage, he's another one.
Yeah,
he's been working hard too.
Hell yeah. And I was talking about this last episode. I had someone on. I really love working with all you guys. Really love getting into this. Just discovering all these people who are really individualistic and very creative in their own way, but they're all still a collective, and you all kind of know each other.
We're a tribe.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I always say, and what I have aimed to do is a lot of groups, their leaders amongst them will become powerhouses themselves, and people will follow in line with them. And that to me is more like an army. I want more like a ninja assassin group. I want everybody's the best samurai they can be, the best Navy SEAL they can be, the best spy they can be. Everybody's their own person. And a lot of what me and my wife do at House of Leopold is aim to make that samurai the best samurai they can be, and help them tune their weapons to their sake, not for everybody else's sake. And when you do that, then everybody else's sake grows. You know what I mean?
Huh. That's a really
you elevate the playing field. Yeah. It's a thing we're missing from major cities, is you don't have the experts in all these arenas that have been able to have the growth to push themselves there. That's something that we're like trying to stimulate, is allowing that to happen so the networks can build, so the stadium is big enough, type of thing.
That's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah.
So you talk about your wife, and I know your name is, so is House of Leopold, is that a name for both of you? How does that all work?
So House of Leopold is me and my wife.
Okay.
My wife's name is JC. JC Skelton is her maiden name.
Okay.
Leopold is my last name. But so we decided on that, I would say like 5 years ago.
Okay.
And we designed it as a new theory, a new idea. We call it a living brand. So instead of being like Coca-Cola that sells Coke Pops, right? And that's all you know the name for. If they started banking, you'd be like, what the hell? Ours does whatever we need it to. Ours is us. And so I come from a sales and marketing background, and social media. I ran, so that's kind of where I come from. She comes from graphic design. She's a graphic design professor at DMAC, and does Photoshop, Illustrator, the whole Adobe collection.
Okay.
And so between the two of us, we got a very wide piece of the puzzle, viewing wise, and action wise. So that's what we do. I don't remember where I was going with this. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
But yeah, we I guess I'll talk about House of Leopold. That's what I was going. Okay, I'm sorry. So yeah, we aim to, what we have been doing, and the reason I'm stumbling around is we're switching. We're moving our living. We just went through a growth spurt where we recognized in ourselves that it wasn't fulfilling, and we saw something more fulfilling. And that's not a bad thing. That's growth, and you realize deeper inside yourself where that's at. And so we have small projects that have now become more than even ambitions, that are maybe becoming jobs, like DJing.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
I was gonna ask that. That's so you're actually possibly seeing that point where you can make a living doing this.
We're right in there, especially if we work really hard at it for a little bit. And so that's kind of where we're at. And like we have been, our strategy for the last couple of years was working with whoever kind of came into our reality. So when somebody popped up and they owned a pizza shop that their mom and dad had forever, and they need a new brand, a new menu, nothing matched. Mom and dad made it work because they were mom and dad, and everybody knew them.
Yep.
That's not how today works.
Yeah, no, it's completely different.
And if people want to order pizza online and they can't find your phone number, that's a problem. So we can go from the physical world to the digital world, and that's like our specialty. So we were remaking everything around us, from bands to DJs to pizza shops to laundromats, making them competitive in today's world, helping them with their data management, helping them with their social media and social media planning, helping them with the brand and logo design, helping them with the website design and functionality, and then tying all the pieces together through like Google SEO, and Facebook uses something called Blueprint, Facebook and Instagram do. So you can tie all those together, so that way when you do something somewhere, like when you share a picture on Facebook, that it tags and then now is used inside of Google when somebody Googles your restaurant. That kind of stuff. So we just tie all this together so it works the right way. You know what I mean?
That's really interesting.
But that got to a point to us where it's awesome watching other people succeed, but I don't know. There's something that in you that once you like your ambition starts clicking, you're like, okay, my turn. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so that feeling's hitting. But yeah, so as of now, we are turning our attention. We're still doing so many side projects, we can't stop. There's so many good people that we have like come in contact to, and it's like putting out lures. You know what I mean? Like when you go fishing, you don't expect to like yank one in right away. So over the last years, we put out how many feelers, and all of a sudden now they're still coming in. And it's great. I love working with people. But next, we're working on. I'm releasing a bunch of stuff through Snag and helping define what it is I do. A lot. I've been through stages of DJing where when I started, it was all, if you could afford it, vinyl and Technique 1200s, Rain 57. That was like the standard, and that's what they were using in Vegas. That's where they're using Atlantic City, and those were like the major spots. DJM was a big deal at that time, and that's where I fell in love with turntablism. Watching like early YouTube videos of like people like AM.
So when would that have been?
Oh goodness, 2008.
Okay.
2007. And then, I started DJing when I was 13. My dad was a DJ. And
Oh wow!
So he DJ'd, but he wasn't like the level of DJ I was, and he didn't want it to be cool. He would just did it like pop-up weddings. He did it for like community events, stuff like that. DJ pure energy,
like father, like son.
Yes. Well, he built a light board with homemade lights that used light switches on this like wooden panel. So he needed somebody to operate it to like flick them on and off all night.
That's like that's like almost intuitive of like what this is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But way less resourceful.
Yeah.
Like I had to use like my pinkies and like the middle of my thumbs to like flick them, so because my fingers were too small because I had kid hands. but I did get a lot of compliments growing up, and I really liked it. So that grew into a passion, and I DJ'd my first wedding, and that's why I say where I started DJing was at 14. Somebody let a 14-year-old DJ a wedding. But I did it, and it went really well, and I've always enjoyed it. I got MCing lessons and stuff when I was like 16, 17. Wow. Yeah. And then about 18 is when I discovered nightlife and got turntables and started DJing clubs and Ames. Wow. Yeah. So that was about 2008. And then fast forward, we're saying 2012, 2011, controllers started being a thing. And that's when it really started shifting. We're now to a point where I am using a hybrid. Like what I use is still digital or still analog. I still use the vinyl laying on a platter and they're spinning, but I have this little USB stick that lays over the top of them, and it reads it digitally to control my digital music. So to me, it feels like I'm scratching on vinyl, but instead of having to buy all the expensive vinyls, I'm all inside the computer. So I can download your music and then play it on my vinyl.
Yeah.
Using that, turntablism has grown into something that it wasn't before, and my skills are now at a point where I am able to utilize some of that. So what I have built is what I call it like a mixology of different snags, right?
So like almost like making your own drum kits, maybe? Is that what you're trying to say? Or
no, they're more mixes.
Oh, okay.
So they're like 35, 45-minute mixes, but they're all in different styles, different genres. You know, there's like rhythm, and then there's experimental bass, and there's like all these like broad styles. I like nitpicked. So I have 15 years of music, and I went through and found my favorite ones of all these genres and like put together the songs I've replayed over and over that I think kind of define my sound, and I put them together in the mixes with the scratching. And so yeah, that's the starting piece of what I'm going to use to define what I'm doing next. I do not produce. I don't make my own sounds. The best analogy I have for that is I feel like Beethoven rather than like the trumpet player. You know what I mean? And I'm really good at finding the best trumpet player. I'm really good at finding the best flutist. I'm really good at finding the best clarinetist and putting them together. And like what I do is orchestrate the values of like the treb, mids, basses, and the volume, and I moderate the flow through the evening. You know what I mean? Like the conductor. And that is where my heart is. That's my piece. So that's what I'm showing on our next thing. That's what me and JC are working on is I have to define myself as a DJ, as a turntablist DJ, and that's it. Because everybody's asking for music and production and what are you doing next? Because I'm like at that level, but that I have no desire, and it's not like a lazy one. I'm not a lazy person. I don't find it in me to want to make music. I don't sing in the shower.
You don't even have the slightest interest?
No. And I would rather take somebody else's even mediocre or shitty music and play around with it with them in the presence than make my own.
Now that's interesting.
Yep. And like I have both Fruity Loops. I have the new Fruity Loops. I have the new Ableton. And I use them for pulling out vocals, pulling out scratch sentences, making my own scratch sentences, making my own drops. So I can mess around with it. I have almost all my friends make music. It's just not something I want to do. And so I'm at a point in my life where like I've been questioning that for a while, and I'm defining that I'm not doing that I am a DJ, a turntablist, and this is what it sounds like. And so I've put together 16 mixes, and I'm going to be releasing those on SoundCloud and hopefully Spotify. And I've got them labeled into like a CD package. So they're allowing me to market it as like a CD compilation. Wow. Yeah.
Dang.
I won't be able to profit off it, but there'll be 16 inside of a single album. And then I also have videos for each of them. So these are 45-minute
wow.
mixes, and I've made videos, hence my head being shaved. I've never been into performance art, but what I've done is created like for the last 2 months. I was even started this prior COVID. COVID made it easier because now I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, right.
But for the last 2 months, I have made it so I've been recording different aspects of my life when I do things, like building a trampoline, riding my hoverboard, cutting my own hair, and then I'm putting these to those mixes. And editing them to, I have a Guerrilla Graphics, Jaden, shout out Jaden, he is editing them for me to match the music. So you're like watching my real life, but all of a sudden it will like match the music, and you're like,
oh wow,
am I trippy? You know what I mean? Is this, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
It is really trippy.
And it comes in and out. It is, and they have different elements of like realism trippy. I call it trip deck, where like you have like real playing over the top of something that it's obviously not happening. You know what I mean? And so we play on that all the way through. And I'm hoping this really like defines I want to go into the internet. I want to explore wider genres with more people. I don't need a physical location. DJing in bars and clubs DJing to drunk people doesn't do it for me right now. You know what I mean? I'm looking for like the art center with 20 people who like want to feel.
Yeah.
Like, and so I'm like trying to put my fingers out in those directions.
Well, there needs to be more. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just out of the loop. I feel like there needs to be more of those kind of venues and those more kind of events in Des Moines.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's all very separated. It's either like you're playing to the drunk bar crowd, or you're like a top-notch band playing at wherever.
Yep.
You know.
And even the top-notch stuff here, most of the entertainment here is purchased so it can be around the alcohol.
Yeah, exactly.
And that alone is an experience in itself. That taints any experience. And that's fine. That's how we afford it here. But that isn't the way it is everywhere. That isn't the way it has to be. That's not the way I enjoy it. I don't drink anymore. And I'm not like avidly against it, but inebriation isn't fulfilling. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
And I've been in places where like when you DJ at like 3 a.m, everybody's inebriated, and it's like,
yeah,
my
they're
shit's
not like
getting
really
wrecked, and this is uncomfortable. It's not that. I am, just to be stated, I'm a huge fan of any substance.
Yeah.
I love altering your mind. I love not escaping reality, but understanding that there's other points to be viewed. That gives you perspective inside of your own head, your own POV. And that's important. I hope you rattle the shit out of your mind. You know what I mean? But I don't think alcohol is a sustainable way to do that.
No, it's
especially in large groups.
It's not a very productive way either. I mean,
right.
and usually, I mean, at least 80% of the time, in my experiences, it's ended poorly.
Yep.
I'm definitely more of like a...
Same with mine. I have a lot of experience with it.
Yeah. Fuck. And that's kind of the thing, though, is like, I mean, Budweiser's whatever,
yeah.
you know. But
and
like,
a couple drinks is different than like being at a party getting like fucked up. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And like, again, I've been there. I've definitely done it. And I'm not saying like done it in like a past tense. I'm not doing it now, but no disgrace, no disregard. Do what you want. I'm an even more avid towards that. But yeah, in a group setting, there are special things that happen when 30 people, for example, when I used to have a place, we call it the Hole, House of Leopold. It was like a physical location inside of a strip mall over in Beaverdale.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, we had it for a year.
Wow, that's really interesting.
It was super fun.
I don't mean to interrupt. So I'm just trying to understand. This is like a business?
Yeah, it was
like
a
business.
business
Spot and you rent
Yes.
it? I've always like had the thought, like, what if somebody... and you actually did that?
Yes.
Holy shit.
So I operate inside of an S Corp with a couple of LLCs underneath it. So it looked legit. They gave me an office space. And I had like, I think it was 1,100 square feet of a brand new strip mall right next to Casey's and Beaverdale in that corner there.
Dang.
Yeah.
Was that... Okay, so
What
was
about
that the venue
Clips?
had all the records and all that?
That was me.
Oh,
The venue. I love that you call it that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was whatever I wanted it to be. We just played in it. It was awesome.
Damn, that's really fucking legit, man.
Thank you.
I've always driven past those fucking empty spaces and like, what if we just like got 4 people together and like put
Yes.
together the rent to just like fucking like have this fucking decked out place in the middle of fucking public to just like do crazy shit
And do whatever you want.
and do whatever, make music, make beats, set up a studio,
Hang out, talk, play Legos. Yeah, whatever
Yeah,
the day
exactly.
needs. Honestly, it was wonderful. And we are looking to do something like that again. The space wasn't quite what we needed to be. I either need to be smaller and more in rooms, or I need it to be larger to like almost a venue size.
I see what you're saying.
But
yeah.
And what happened there was, just so everybody knows, they do ramp up pricing, which is totally cool when you're starting out. But I started out like $700, ended about $1,250 to sign the new lease. At 1 year it was like $1,450, and I was like, hell no, I'll get out. I have no ego attached to this. This was fun while it lasted. I'm done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can do a lot of things with $1,450 a month.
Yeah.
But like I said, we have me and some of my friends, are my business partners, I guess I could call them, are looking at something else in the future. So there will be a version 2. But where I was going with that was we had something there called So Far Sounds. And it was anywhere from like 15-year-olds to like 80-year-olds. And they brought in 3 different people in 3 different genres. And they played, each of them played like 4 or 5 songs of their own. And I guess these pop up all over the city once a month. And like the couple days before, they announced to everybody that's in their mailings where this is going to be. Everybody shows up there, has a surprise concert, and goes. But nobody was intoxicated. Everybody sat on the floor. You're not allowed to take pictures or have a cell phone. Nobody was able to talk. And it was one of the most magical experiences I've ever been part of. Like, literally, there's 80 people on the floor crying to some 18-year-old girl playing the guitar. Like, that doesn't happen in real life. You know what I mean? But it did. And, like,
wow.
that type of thing is, like, what I more am gravitating towards at this point in my life. And that's kind of, bring that back around, that's where I was heading with that. But big and next, if I can talk about it.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to anybody in a while. Sorry, I'm just spewing at you.
No, you're fine.
I'm locked in a basement with my wife.
I did want to say, like,
please.
kind of going off your idea there, like, I've always thought, like, I would be fucking perfect to have Woodstock in. You know what I mean?
It'd be
find
so
some
fun.
fucking... That's probably the hardest part, right? Finding the farmer who's actually willing to be like, have everybody do all this crazy shit.
I've been approached by multiple people.
Really?
Like, if I had the money or the resources,
That's probably the biggest problem.
that
isn't
is. You're looking at $1 million, $1.5 million, and the EDM world is getting more and more corporate by the day. So it's getting more and more expensive by the day, and less negotiable.
Damn.
Yep. Someday, maybe. I don't really want to run a festival. That seems like a lot of fucking work.
Yeah, no, right? No, I
Like,
mean, it would be up to someone else.
All
you
year
know?
for a 3-day party. I party almost every weekend, and I barely have to plan. You know what I mean? Like, I'm way about that.
I like to plan, but fuck, not like that.
Not like
Holy
that.
shit.
No. And I've been part of some, like, I was part of G14 and, like, helped him, held his hand and helped him. And I got to see, like, that level of, like, trying to really reach for everything you got. And, like, props to Jasper, props to everything he did. Don't want to do that. No way in hell. That was way too scary, way too much work. And, like, yeah, the music industry is real. They're cutthroat. It gets real. Money's real. So
before you get into your next
Yes.
business venture, let's get into that, because you were adamantly talking about that, like, right before we started. I
Okay.
want to get into that. So you were saying that the Des Moines music scene, you don't think it's going to get started for another 4 months, and that we're going to, because of this COVID, that the industry's going to be hit for years.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
I think this will definitely change things. Firstly, on a national scale. I mean, I know everybody put off tours and are sitting on albums and making a bunch of stuff, so they're going to be traveling a lot. I know there's going to be a strong desire from most metropolitan cities for people to be going out, so things can be booked heavier, which will draw most of the higher class talent.
There you go.
We were getting high rates of saturation in the market, I feel, right before COVID hit. And so it was, like, everywhere, which was great, because then Des Moines was getting a lot of top names. The last couple of years, like Dan Green, Austin Blythe have brought more names than we've ever had in EDM. It's been awesome. And I think that will continue, just maybe not at the notch they were at for a second.
Yeah.
I'm predicting, like, a, what do you call that? There's an ebb and flow where the backdraft catches and all the major cities pull up that energy for a minute. I mean, like New York, that, let's say they were hosting 20 parties a night. All of a sudden now everybody wants to party because they can again. I bet you they're going to go up to 30 or 40 parties a night. And that takes another 20 or 40 DJs off the major network. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no. And it's a problem of starting again. When does it start? How does it start? I mean, we got Melting Sounds that started up last weekend. So we'll probably get the bar gigs started up independently. There'll be no festivals this winter. The last one I knew of just canceled, or this summer. The last one I knew of in Iowa just canceled yesterday.
Which one was that?
712. And I don't know if they've officially announced, but their owner announced officially. So
that's where I'm from. That zip code 712.
Did you go to their festival last year?
No.
That was a special one.
Huh. That's weird.
The Sioux City boys, Sioux City Collective, put it on. Sioux City Sound Collective.
I haven't lived there in like so many years.
And I think they're new. I think they're the last couple of years. But they're doing powerful things. They're running major EDM circuits and tours through Sioux City.
Wow.
That area. I think they got a couple of venues they run.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Where I grew up, like Sioux City was always kind of known as Sewer City. I don't know if you've ever been through there, but like there's construction on that interstate that's been going on like since I was a child, and I lived up there like last year, and they were still working on it.
Oh man.
Like basically the fucking housing market crash in 2008 just halted it for like years, and then like I think finally the last couple of years, I could be full of shit, but like from what I understand, the last couple of years they finally started up again. Like Sioux City always has the nickname up there as Sewer City. Okay. So I guess what I'm saying is I didn't know that there was anything
they're doing
going
stuff.
Up there.
They're doing it, and I've seen their shows, and they actually have decent production, like good production, good visuals. Yeah. And like I said, 712 last year was probably one of my favorite experiences. They had a festival tied into a car show, dragged into drag racing. Wow. So, and they brought out the Function Ones, which is like a $250,000, $300,000 sound system. And then during the day, they had anything from rock to hip hop to Zydeco bands. And then at night, they had EDM. They brought out Kiva, which is like she's a deep, dark, dangerous DJ. So they play like really low temp. It was amazing. It was phenomenal. It was unreal. And there was only like, I bet you 1,000 people throughout the entire thing. But like the nights when they had this like $300,000 sound system and this world DJ up there was like 30 people listening. So it's like an intimate set. It was awesome. It was super cool.
You ever do like the silent disco kind of stuff?
I have, yeah. I'm open to any experience as long as the experience is like genuine.
I guess what do you think about that?
I don't like, so the silent disco bar, props to them for what they're doing. I know people enjoy it and I enjoy that. I don't like that. I don't like competing for the best cha-cha slide song.
I agree.
And I really try to eliminate competition from my life. It drives different feelings, and like my mentality in competition isn't, I think that's part of what's wrong with the world.
Oh,
nature doesn't
110%. Yeah.
Nature doesn't compete. That's not what's happening. So that's part of the conditioning I try to wear off. So I don't like that feeling. When I do, I just play my own music, and usually like 3 people listen to it.
Yeah, right.
But I have been in silent discos where that was the vibe. Like Cosmic Kingdom had the silent disco. 515 does the silent disco, and like for the free ticket and the opportunity to play, it's kind of worth it. Trust me, I'd way rather be loud. It's the entire point's to move like a vibe, and when you have it all split between all other energies, it just doesn't connect.
Well, because Bluetooth isn't perfect. There's always that delay, and it's just you can't match with live.
Your hertz rating's lower, so they can't get the full experience that are coming out of experience. Not even close.
Think about that.
Bluetooth is a very narrow. It's like compression. So you're not gonna hear the whole sound, just not even close. And there's just, if they maybe had bass packs on them or something, there's just no way you can't. The only time I've ever seen a vibe is when like YMCA is playing and they all look at the DJ and everybody does YMCA. Otherwise, everybody's too sparse. Nobody like is interacting, and like it's not conversation you're looking for. It's more like inside of a good party, everybody has that sway. Everybody's moving together, breathing together, and like you like feel this thing. Yeah. That does not happen inside of a silent disco. Not even close.
Everybody's kind of just like apart, just like kind of all looking at the same thing, maybe, or maybe not even that, doing their own thing.
I feel like it's a good pass the time, listen to music with your friends, drinking activity.
That's fair. That's a pretty
and that's what some people want to do it. I love it for that. But yeah, no, I would way rather be on a mediocre system and have a shorter time slot than play a longer time slot with other DJs in the same area.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Even if my like 515 is a prime example. They put us in like the direct line of the main stage, which is awesome. You get to use their lights, and like during the day a couple times it filled up when the main stage DJ wasn't known and stuff like that. But at night, I DJ'd this last year at night, and I think right before the last one or right into the last one, and like obviously nobody's there. All the lights are going on the main stage. Like everybody's just like in awe. You know what I mean? Nobody's watching silent disco, and I'm like trying to peek through the metal truck to see the main show myself. You know what I mean? I'm like, I can hear my songs anytime I want. I can't see this anytime I want. So like that part kind of like gets me.
There's that distance. Like I remember the first time I ever even like heard of sound disco. I was like at this what was it? The fucking park in West Des Moines. Do you know what I'm talking about? The big like family oriented. Yeah. It's like family / adult. There's like a bar upstairs. I don't know.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name of it.
Splash Park, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Or something like that. I don't fucking know. It's in West Des Moines. But that was the first time I had heard of it. And like I just remember just the vibe was just so fucking weird. They were like, I'm probably not even thinking of the right place, whatever. It was in West Des Moines, but like people just like bobbing around, fucking like,
yep.
You just, if you're like not a part of it, you're just looking around. There's like no music going on, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like this is so fucking weird. Like, especially when you had never heard of it before. You're like, what the fuck is going? Oh, sound disco. I'm like, what? Is this how removed people are? It's like they're all in their own fucking shit.
The world.
It's like the old Star Trek shows when there's like, I remember distinctly there's this episode where like people are like addicted to this video game. And like it's to the point where like it's the next gen and like their brains, like there's like 2 people left on the ship who aren't playing the game and like play the game. And they're all like fucking brainwashed and shit. That's like what I think about when I
sound the disco. Wear the headphones. Turn in your driver's license.
The music stops and they're just chanting orders. They're like,
right.
They're like all use and just all circling.
The best place I've ever seen it though is in a convention hall. Like for like people who don't know each other, random strangers, to get them dancing. That did work well.
That's interesting.
That's the only time I've ever seen it because like what you said cued that memory. I saw it at Bacon Fest.
I've heard of that Bacon Fest.
I went during their Japanese year, and I know they put a lot of work into it, and I know a lot of people put it on. Props to them, but their Japanese year push, it was cultural appropriation all over the fucking place. All over the fucking place.
It always is. And that's God. The thing. We try so hard, but it never works.
Oh, it was too much. I'll tell the story. The girl who won the beauty pageant, or like it wasn't just a beauty pageant. They had multiple things. She won the talent show too, but her talent was throwing ninja stars. And it was obvious she doesn't do this in her recreational time. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? She won. She won. Yeah.
Oh my God.
They had a Asian drum circle, which was like a big festivity that a lot of people were like merging to. So I went to check it out. There wasn't a single Asian orientated or Asian ethnic person involved in the drumming. There wasn't even a minority involved in the drumming. I was like, oh my God. It felt like 2008.
Yeah, right.
Like everybody was saying like that's gay, and you like knew it was wrong. Like that's what it felt like there. It was like, this is not okay.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I don't want to get too much into what's going on just because I have an entire episode focused on that this weekend.
Cool.
But the thing I will say is I was kind of thinking about this. I have been thinking about this the other day. Is like when because I was born in 1995.
Okay.
So like when I like between the ages of like 5 and 12, just remembering how different the world was than it is now.
It was a huge switch. I was born in 89, so I'm only 6 years older than you.
Okay.
That makes me in my preteens during that time. So like junior high was like the ultimate that's gay period. You know what I mean? Like I heard it so much that I even questioned my own sexuality. And like I'm not gay. Like I had like the inverse. You know what I mean? Like I have 3 kids and a wife, and I've always like I'm very attracted to women. I'm very attracted to my wife, and it's always been that way. But it was so repetitious, and for anything you did negatively, it was just like you had to have some kind of identity. Look at yourself. You know what I mean? Like why is the universe saying this? But no. One story I always tell too is I remember when Al Gore and Bush were getting elected or in that presidential election.
That would have been what, 99,
something like that, 2000.
I guess 2000.
And that to me was like the big start of the switch, where like things things really like epitomed at that point. My school ran a fake election where all the students voted. There was 3 kids that voted Al Gore. Me, my sister, and my best friend Forrest. And that's the atmosphere I grew up in. It was crazy.
So let me ask, where'd you grow up? Like what area?
Ballard, Huxley.
Is that in Iowa? Where is that?
Yep, just 5 miles south of Ames.
Oh, okay.
And I lived in a small town called Kelly, which was like 150 people. And it was
wow.
Yeah.
150 people? What the fuck?
It depends on who died that week or who was born.
Oh my god.
And I was like the local paper boy, and I grew up in like the 1950s, like with like all modern technology, but like the town acted like it was the 1950s.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
We had like the token black kid that rode the bus. You know what I mean? Like it was. We still have a phone booth. They have a legendary phone booth in Kelly that still functions. Like you can open the sliding door, step inside, and dial somebody. Yeah, I don't know why.
You know, I wouldn't say my town is quite like that, but like I think you and I can kind of relate in that.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
I think small towns Iowa's very much still like that. I mean, I feel blessed having a progressive center like Des Moines.
Yeah, I think there is outreach because like even in my town, who for what I always remembered in my growing up in that town, very anti-gay, very anti-LGBTQ. They started doing Pride Parade.
Wow.
Which is just like, yeah, because I got divorced last year. I was living up in South Dakota, like kind of in that area. It was like the border of South Dakota, so it was like basically Iowa, but technically South Dakota essentially. And yeah, I remember like I met people in Sioux Falls, and they were telling me all about that. They had gone to college there, and they're like, yeah, they do like a Pride. I'm like, they do a fucking Pride Parade? Like what? I was just shocked. I couldn't believe it. I had to like have him like show me pictures and everything. I just was like, no, you must be mistaking like Orange City, Florida, or something.
I hold a deep pessimism for our current populace, but I hold high hope for our future.
Yeah, I think
the younger the younger the person gets, the younger the individual gets, the more I tend to agree with their worldview. Things are shifting.
Yeah. I think that's the key. I think that's the thing people really need to remember is like eventually like all these people that are doing this they're dying out, man. Like eventually give it 20, 30 years. These people I could be wrong, but I truly do think that majority of those people are going to be gone.
Yes, of our current populace, the only thing I worry about is the next generation of elitist. That's a whole nother battle.
Yeah, that is.
But of our population, it's gonna be nice being able to like I have tattoos and stuff, and like the judgment I receive is super minimal, doesn't bother me. But when you walk into a store and that 60-year-old lady does give you a dirty look, I'm so excited for that to be dead. You know what I mean? Like just unneeded. Yeah. I don't know. We younger folks, 32, 33 and under, to generalize, do see each other, see the world, interact differently. We've got, even on the internet, we've gotten over our keyboard warrior days, most of us. You know what I mean? Like 2010 to 2015 was brutal online. Fucking brutal. We're like, now try talking to a boomer. They'll rip your ass apart. And they don't say anything. None of it's like valid or has any like reason, but they'll call you a pussy and everything else all in the same sentence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's just definitely different maturity rates because of what we've had to experience and all the arenas we experience.
Well, it's amazing. I think a lot of it is with just the influx of information we now have.
Yeah.
That's changed so many things. It's insane.
And that's okay. So talking to that about what's currently happening, I am so fucking proud of our social networks and how we are deciphering and sharing information. We've always been a meme culture. We've always shared information, but when things have negatively trended or falsely trended amongst us, they have continued in the past, and the arguments have been invalid and stupid. We are policing ourselves, and the stuff that's being shared is mostly black and relevant, and I am so fucking proud of how we're doing that. I think it's that is a growth spurt from how we've ever done anything before.
Yeah.
And I still see the negative, like, this is bullshit posts, but, like, I'm talking, like, the people who are involved in it are doing it like they've never done before. The information sharing, this might not be true, let's not share this yet, this is true, release it. Like, that kind of conversation has never been to the level it is now, and it's now to, like, a responsible level. I think the way we've used information through this protest is the reason the protests are so large. We have activated people's minds through that's That's never happened with anything. We've always been blockaded by Russia or boomer memes or wherever the fuck they're coming from. You know what I mean? This one really worked, and I'm very impressed by how we did that.
Yeah, and however people might feel about this, you have to acknowledge either way that this is probably one of the biggest ones that I remember anyways. That in my lifetime.
99% was huge. And
which one, sorry?
The 99% movement. And that was in 2016.
Yeah, I guess I don't know because it's all still like.
And so 99% was a world movement, was almost on this level without this level of attention. It was like, just don't look at it.
You think it's the attention that's changed?
The attention and the ability. So the 99% almost had too much what I call articulation. They had too many points and it was too valid. This is kind of mucked in between what we already know and feel. So they're like, we're using like an emotional contents of knowing what's right because we trust each other to see it finally. You know what I mean? Like that's different. And I think that's what's like cueing into like my friends going to protest for the first time. You know what I mean? And I'm really happy about that. I'm really proud of that. Protests are important. I think this world's going to change even more, and I think we need to be able to harness this power.
This world is definitely going to change.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah,
and we need to be able to harness this power, or we're not going to have a voice. We can feel it. I mean, hell, when we passed the Patriot Act 2, things of that nature, like since 2008, we've been working to decrease the individual's voice. So the only way we're going to get our voice out is in masses. So we have to practice these skills no matter what they are. That's how I feel about it.
I don't know.
The rest of the world's so ready to activate and are doing it. Like yesterday, I watched out of Italy. They were having a protest, and there had to be 100 green lasers, and so they were taking down police drones as a community with green lasers, aiming them at the drones, and you overload the drone with all these laser bits, and the drone will literally just drop out of the air.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they're to that level of like activism, protest already. Like they're just like, time to protest. Where's my laser? Bloop. You know what I mean? Like it's a growing thing. So to be outright, I'm an anti-centralist. That's how I like to describe it. I don't think we should all give our powers towards one central location. It's the same basic like thing I have against like Christianity. I don't think it like prescribes to the individual.
No, not at all.
I think the beautiful thing about like our consciousness being self-identifying is that we are all on a different perspective, and what we're going to be able to share is how yours is different than mine and what that equals together.
Well, that's the key. It's like being humble, like having your, that's kind of, I think where we agree with like psychedelics is like, you have that like self-inflection or reflection, that self, that sense of self, but you also develop a humble approach to like other people.
Yeah, because that's yourself. You're hearing yourself.
Exactly.
There's no way to echolocate alone. You can't fix yourself. You can't get better. You can't be more human. You can't be happier alone. It just doesn't work. Yeah, I forgot.
you were like really like, oh no, what you were anti-centralist, which is not a term I've heard. So
no, and I've worked very hard at this because I do not believe the new paradigm is understood yet. I think we have to get perspective to be able to articulate what that looks like, but that we can say things that are so obvious and common that we can start distancing ourselves from the perpetuated conditioned reality that we're raised in. But I think this starts with the individual. Okay, where am I going with that? Big thoughts. I haven't been thinking hard lately. I've been enjoying just like my time.
Yeah.
What was the question again? I'm sorry. Hit me with it one more time.
Okay, so you were talking about how you were anti-centralist.
So yeah, I believe in localism. I think like that everybody is arguing about who the president is the backwards part. We should be arguing about who the mayor is. I think the fact that the central government in Washington has 98% of the money, resources, and power is fucking bullshit. I think most of that should be to our city governments, to our local governments, then to our state governments, then to maybe a Midwestern municipality, then to a federal government. And we work backwards. The most important things to us is our health and well-being in our streets, not our fucking Federal Reserve or armed forces, and I'm pro armed forces. I understand, like, if somebody's going to hit my wife, I'm going to beat them first. Like, I do understand retaliation. I do understand there's righteous anger. I do understand you have to protect yourself. Like, I get those lines, but not at the extremes we are and not at the cost we're giving. So, like, I think if everybody's arguing about who's on city council, you know how much power there's inside a city council? And, like, if we divulge our resources and literally, like, the opposite spectrum, you know what I mean? So the city has the money and the federals have just enough. That would allow our schools to bloom. That would allow our streets to bloom. Who knows what kind of human projects we'd be able to start, how we'd be able to help each other in further ways. That's where it's at. The federal government's not going to do that for us. They're too far. They're too far away. And most of those people there are elitist, and that's fine. That's what needs to be in a federal government. But then why give them all the power?
Yeah, I think you and I on that stance agree 110%.
And that doesn't require the paradigm shift. I still think there's a bigger paradigm shift coming. I don't think democracy is the greatest form of self-governance. I don't think it is. I believe in, like, the dawning of Aquarius. We're coming into a new time where something's going to make more sense to live than how we're currently conditioned to live. But there is easy fixes inside the current prison to make this less hellacious on most people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's my proposal or ideas to fix it. I actually majored in political science. That's where I came from.
Oh, okay. What school did you go to?
Minnesota State, Mankato.
Interesting.
I wanted to be an astronaut, and then I got hit in the head with a skateboard and didn't have perfect vision. And at the time, you couldn't fix your eyes, so you couldn't be an astronaut. So I was like, well, I really want to fix the world. So I became really involved in politics and thought that was the way you could fix things. Got involved, got up there and started realizing that that's more of a perpetuation of the problem, especially as a white male.
That's
that the act of doing does this. And so I was like, okay, well, what do you do besides doing? Where am I going to feel fulfilled at? How do I get to 70 years old and be like, that was a life I want to live? So that's where I found myself. That's where I started finding. I did a lot of reading in books. People like Eckhart Tolle, Alan Watts really peeled off the onion layers for me. And started digging inwards and got as far away from fucking politics as I can. I most of the time preach now non-activism, non-attentionism. Just so we are two things. We are our attention, which is a part of our reality, what we mean to do, what we say we're going to do. And then most of our reality is what we give our attention to. If we don't give our attention to something, it is no longer in our reality, which the more important part of that being, we still pay attention to it, but the more important part of that being, we don't give it as much energy. So I'm still cognitive, I still understand, but I'm not playing the game. I don't care. And so that allows me to gain more perspective. And the crazy part is, as it was happening, all you hear is just vote, just vote, just vote. They don't care what side. They just want you participating. Because once you step outside of it, you don't have those heartstrings being pulled on anymore. And you're like, no. There's like a human way to do this. You know what I mean? And it's not what side you're like selling me. And so that's my latest preach is like, just calm down. They're not right. Either side. Look at this.
We need to be human.
Yep.
We need to find people that can step back and, like you said, step back.
And I think we show this to them by not voting. If we can get voting down between, I know this is fucking crazy because this could sway everything and Trump get another term, and I know how bad that would be. And I hate Biden, but comparatively, like, that's not an argument. But if we do this one or two times, they will understand there's no money, there's no power, there's no attention in it. And right now, the reason they care so much is the attention. They're buying our attention. That's all they want. That's why the big monies are paying for the politicians to be reelected. They want the attention. They want the swagger. They want the say. And what also happens when you stop paying attention, let's say you were my kid, right? And you're bad and I like ground you a lot, you have to lock down or you start rebelling. Or if I don't pay attention and you do everything, it becomes super obvious. You start leaving your joints out. You start not cleaning your room. You know what I mean? Because I'm not paying attention. And then I come back and I'm like, yo, this is what you are. You're not even hiding it. I don't have to be mean. It's obvious. And so we do that to them. We don't pay attention for a little bit and we come back. All their shit won't be clean. It'll be everywhere. It's going to be so fucking obvious. Their joints are going to be sitting all over the place. They'll have roaches everywhere. You know what I mean? That will allow us to just nail them to the crosses. That came out naturally. but that right now, the systems at play, the way the game is played, it is designed to hide everything they want to hide. You know what I mean?
No, I see what you're saying.
And the only way to disengage that is to allow them to feel comfortable enough to show it. from my perspective.
No, it's kind of interesting because having gotten Facebook and having seen some of your posts, I honestly kind of thought we would disagree a lot more than we seem to on that.
Good.
I'm not gonna lie.
Good.
No, because like I am like curious like if voting numbers are gonna be the lowest they've ever been this year, because like there was a divisiveness between Hillary Clinton and Trump. I think, I don't know, I could be talking shit, but I feel like there wasn't near as much of an opposition towards Hillary Clinton as there is Joe Biden,
especially inside the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're going to get most liberal and neoliberal people to vote for Biden. Plain and simple.
Yep.
Like, I'm not voting. I'll go on and I'll practice what I preach. I'm going to vote my local people. I'm going to vote for my mayor. I'm going to vote for my city council. I'm going to damn sure vote for my sheriff. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you that. Can you like just leave the president blank?
Fuck yeah, you can.
Huh.
Yeah, they can't make you do anything.
Yeah, that's true.
You can even write
I guess I'm just wondering if those votes would still, I don't know.
What they then tell you, what the both sides will say is, if you vote for anybody else, your vote doesn't count. Or a vote not for me is a vote for them.
But that's not actually true in local government because they still count those votes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that is very misleading. There could be a write-in candidate, but again, that falls into the current paradigm of the conditioning, because you're going to be an opportunist. How do you become somebody that steps forward and is noble without being an opportunist? Because they're not the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So they have and they do that with time. They pinch us off in a time war. I don't know. I don't know how we get out of that one. I'm just not going to vote because I don't know what the best answer is. That's where I'm at.
No, I mean, I don't. I think from the get-go, I've been like, I'm not going to fucking do it.
Yep. And honestly, I hate Trump, but I would hate his Vice President Pence even more.
That's the thing people don't even fucking think about, man. Like, he wanted to put... What was it? He wanted to put creationism in public schools. Yeah. There's like a whole fucking video in like
system.
Yeah. He's just like, we need a blah, blah. I'm like, oh my god, this man's fucking insane.
He is.
Like,
and like
way worse. Like
electroshock therapy. If you're at all question your sexual identity, he's pro electroshock therapy. If I remember right, he did one of his children or something like that. It's like,
oh no way, really?
Yeah. I remember like reading on like underground reports. I remember. I mean, this is like 5 years ago, and I've read so much since, but I think that's what I remember. I hope. But yeah, no. That was Trump's best insurance policy. You don't want to get rid of Trump because what's behind him is even scarier in a really weird way.
Yeah,
but
exactly. The whole thing is just like.
I didn't vote last election either, so I can't choose lesser of two evils. That is not something that like filters into my reality. I don't even know what to do.
We shouldn't even have to do that.
It doesn't make sense.
And in my mind,
well, look at class president. When we were in school, the class president, even though nobody paid attention, was the best person in your class. Mine was Tanner Davis, and he deserved it. He's like a doctor now, earning millions, was genuinely good character. That happened everywhere. All the grades. Why the fuck did that stop? When did we stop actually electing the best people? When did they not become obvious to us? Like, what the fuck happens after high school? And I'm not saying high school is like a perfect atmosphere. Like, don't get me wrong. But, like, it is an ecosystem in which we are all socially interacting. That's happening right now in our lives.
And in a way, we kind of relate to that. There's a really... I'm not going to pull it up. But there's, like, a really famous clip about... I think it was 2012 when there were people voting. Went to I guess a lot... They approached Obama voters. Or not even I'm not even gonna label that, just voters in general, and they asked them simple basic questions about government and nobody knew the answer. And then they asked them questions about what was in the media, like what was McCain's, or maybe it was 2008, I guess. So McCain, what was his vice VP? Do you remember? McCain.
Oh goodness.
What was the bitch from Alaska?
Sarah Palin.
Palin, there we go. It was all about that. Her daughter was pregnant. Yeah. There we go. Boom. Got it. Yeah, no, but like, people remember that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, that's kind of the whole thing that is really hard in this whole thing is like, we need to break how we get information. We need to like figure that out. Right. We need to figure that out. We need to figure out education. I think those are the two, like, all these problems we're experiencing stems from those two things.
Yep.
I think.
I would agree. And money. bank, insurance companies, and now capitalism owns our democracy.
Yeah. I mean, that's obvious.
Our democracy is rotten. That's the only way I found to put it. Like, it is not bad. It is rotten as fuck. It has been infiltrated. It has been bought. The people who now are in there spending money doing things are not the people who have the same worldview as most of my friends or the people I interact with. That's the difference.
Yeah. Well, I think that's with a lot of people too. I mean, especially
I hope so.
our age.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the crazy part is like, growing up sucks in that way. When like you see your first friend that became a cop and you realize, oh, it wasn't the cop school that did that to you. It's the type of person you were before you became a cop. And like, oh, it's not the money that did that to you. You're that type of person that became that lobbyist. That
exactly.
Really wrecked adulthood for me, is like knowing that like people
are just that way.
Just that way.
Yeah.
That way.
I think this is where you and I agree. You mentioned Christianity before.
Mm-hmm.
I think religion is a huge part in that. Like, to a T. Like, I guarantee all these cops that are doing this are religious. Like, I would almost... I'm obviously stereotyping, and I don't know the facts, but I would be more than likely to assume that is the case.
And it's a good justification method. That's what I feel about Christianity.
Yep.
I know it feels fulfilling and it gives them the real feelings because they believe in something that tells them this way, but what it's doing in our reality is allowing them to justify almost anything they want to happen under the name of God. And that's how it's been throughout history. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like, and part, so there's this famous book that's considered called the most spiritual book out of India, and it's called the Bhagavad Gita. And what it's about is about different gods, and it's very scattered and almost hard to comprehend, but they're talking about different stories, and what they're trying to show is like there's some kind of like repeating pattern happening, and it's what's that effect called, where the pattern is the pattern replicating. So it's kind of like a beehive, how the pattern is itself.
Oh, Fibonacci?
That kind of thing.
Okay.
But what I believe the Christian church does is a lot what parts of that relapse in our reality. They purposely manifest the choices. That's part of like what they're hiding, is the choice of some of those other parts. That's why when you step away, you start feeling a little more human, is because you get to fall into those parts.
Yeah.
So the parts that they issued us, I think, are the people that are still there. They're still comfortable. Uncomfort leads to change. Not much else does inside the human condition.
And that's true. Yeah.
Yep. So I think those are the ones that the parts were given, like police, like teachers, and those are good people in the hearts. It's just they're I don't even call it conditioning, because it's something different. The religious leaders of the world understand our spiritual level and have allotted us the pieces they wanted us to have, which isn't true divination.
They've like tapped into it almost. Well, they have tapped into it.
I think a lot of it's the words, the knowing. When you don't know how to say something, you're not it. When you can't give it back to me, you don't have it.
Well, and that's another big thing. I think that's where education is really big too, because I think people, like, it's like discomfort. People are not willing to acknowledge that they don't know something.
Correct.
Like,
it's against their humiliation.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
So they have to have this justification where there's Christianity. Oh, well, this explains everything because it's just God.
Right.
If you just leave it up to God, then you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
It's just it's all taken care of.
Well, and when I started like breaking away from Christianity, the stories of like that rainbows used to be described as God's loving you that way, and it's like once science explains something, no longer is it God. That God is not worthy of me. You know what I mean? My God is interwoven in all of this. I have taken hallucinogenics that have showed me higher deities. I don't know if it's the only one. I don't know if it's the one from my perspective. I've talked to gods. I know there's something in other worlds that, like, in my perspective, my reality, that I know, and I've seen it in my life, how things... So I believe the language of God is irony and, like, serendipitousness. Irony is the main language. When something is ironic... So I'll step back. When I look at this can... Right, okay. This is schooling. This is what you have a problem with. When I look at this can, I tell you this is red. You agree, but your red might be my blue. You've heard that common misdemeanor, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's with all perspective. When I say something, it has to come from my mouth, out of my brain to my mouth, to your ears, to your brain, anywhere in there, and you go through your cognitive dissonance of your reality plus mine. There's all these different things that it means something different to you.
And it all happens like that.
Yeah, well, but there's no way to give you my feelings and knowing in the exact way I have.
Exactly.
the only shared experience that we can do that in is irony. When I say that was ironic and you agree, there is something that happens through time that then is what was supposed to be. We were within a serendipitous moment. That if something happened that was ironic, it's
so I guess just so I can understand, like, give me an example.
Yeah, let's say me and you were saying, God, I'm so thirsty, but I'm so fucking broke right now. I'm so thirsty, and somebody walks by and he's like, hey, you want a pop? I had an extra one. The machine down the block just gave me one. And we're like, that's fucking ironic. Yeah, that shit happens, especially once you start like cleaning your insides, I believe, and you start like looking inward. Eckhart Tolle on New Earth, if you ever want to like do anything like that. But that irony is truth. I believe that nature, that reality happens inside of this, like, give one hand, take another, and like the instant you're hungry, in your hand should be the apple you're hungry for. That's the best tasting apple you've had every time. That's how nature works. They don't remember. They don't remiss. It doesn't do it like that. What happened, what evolved us, why we're so much better than the rest of the universe, is we got self-reflection. We started being able to understand there was an us inside of this. Immediately on doing so, we misaligned the mirrors and started having negative feelings. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember where I was going. I haven't talked in a long time. You can realign that, and that's what it is.
Interesting. So you've been talking about psychedelic experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to get into that? Do you mind?
Please, I love talking about them.
Yeah, I do too. I literally ask everyone.
Okay, awesome.
Like, so when you're talking to deities, I personally have not gotten to that level of psychedelics just because I've never run to like. What I assume you're talking about is maybe DMT or peyote.
DMT pushed me there visually, yes.
Okay.
I can transcend myself even in my natural sleep. So in that state, I can feel deities and I can hear them. And
really?
And I can like. So this is not a control thing for me, and I don't have any say in it. But like, I have been in spots where like I can feel my grandma there. I can feel her talking to me. I can hear her, but I don't know what she's saying. I don't have any like my ears aren't working quite. It's like muffled. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and that in those spots I know there's something else. But yeah, on DMT, I blasted through and went to some. So I went through some looking like Hindu Buddhist looking frames, and they were changing inside and size, and I flew through a couple of them. They kind of revolved, and then I landed in the spot, and it was really bright, but I knew it was really bright, and I knew it was a god, non-gender specific, a god. It just felt like a higher entity. Like I knew where it was. You know what I mean? And I believe in reality. Wherever you're at all the time, you have everything you need and all the knowing you need. You don't have to remember stuff. It doesn't cram in there. You're tapped in this thing I call the noosphere, and once you know something, it's just a connection. And that's why, like, when I'm there, it felt like I know I'm here and talking to you. It felt the same knowing. I just knew where I was and I was doing the thing. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
And there was no words exchanged, no communication, but immediately I started knowing that he was showing me where my lines of energy were. And
so I'm sorry.
Yep, please.
This happened during your DMT trip. This happens when you sleep.
This is my DMT trip.
Okay, sorry.
Transcending in my sleep is more of just some otherworldly experience. I mostly talk to like I get like I hear messages or I know I'm outside my body. I can't articulate what it is yet, and it doesn't happen in any kind of control.
Interesting. So sorry, you're going back to your DMT trip.
But then I'm there, and so what first happens is I think it's 142 lines of energy through my body vertically.
Wow.
Which when I Googled afterwards was the Hindu allotted amount of energy lines vertically through your body. And so I felt that, and I felt all those, and those were like alive. And it was an awake feeling is how I talk. Like I know that like woke is what everybody calls it, but like when you wake up and you're like rested, it was like energized like that. Like I was awake. And then it went through what like the chakra points, but they didn't feel like what the drawings were. They were more like levels, like lines, and they were all balancing. We went one at a time, and like some of them I had very clear, and some of them like I'm still working on, like my stomach were way off. But what he did was help me. He was a guidance, and I could feel him pulling on the ways they weren't, and it was like literally like I could still feel my body back on earth, and I knew I wasn't in it there, but I could feel it like convulsing and like almost puking and stuff. But it was because we were like pulling my lines through the sludge. Yeah, And then I got tapped or touched or something or whatever it was and sent back through the same frames and into my body.
That's insane.
Wow. It was crazy.
I can't say I've quite heard a story like that. Like with line. So I understand like what you're saying. Like it was almost like there were like posts in your body, and they were like dragging on the ground, and you were like,
yeah, I felt.
And you were
like
not,
this.
but you weren't in your body. You were like
myself. Because like how I can see my hands, I can see my body, but most of the time I'm like in this view where I don't see myself. That's what it felt like. Like put your head a little forward, and that's what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I felt like I was like postered up.
I had not with the lights, but I did have an out of body experience one time when I took LSD.
Cool.
Basically just like shot out my it's like that frame of vision like shot up over my body, and like I looked down.
Yep.
It was like really like I just
that's what happens to me when I'm sleeping, that type of thing.
Really?
And I can hear muffled things where I know they're like another ghostly reality. Like I can hear my grandma and she's dead. Like what the fuck? You know what I mean? I don't know what that is.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
LSD for me mostly reminds me how liquid our reality is. All the movement and stuff, I get that for so long, and like I see what you're saying. Because like I can sit here and look at the table for a long time, and I can start moving lines, and I get things where like if you stare at the dots, and then you imagine you want to move them, and you close your eyes and put them back, and they're different. Like, is that really happening? And like I know other people have confessed that around me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Acid helps remind me of that. It keeps me humble in that this isn't real in that sense.
Huh. I guess it's an interesting way to look at it. But like, you know, for some people, like when they hallucinate during psychedelics, that really freaks them out. I've always found it to be very calming.
Super calming.
Like when I'm tripping and like I see things just like moving, and I'm just like, I don't know. It's like because I grew up from like a really like my father's a judge.
Okay. Cool.
And he was a prosecutor for a long time, so he just recently became judge. But like very hard conservative backgrounds where I come from.
Yep.
So like that part of me is always kind of like in the back of my head where it's like you're altering your reality, you're breaking the law, you know?
Yep. The voice of reason.
Yeah. So like, but that's kind of the thing. Like with like more regular use of LSD, like I've conquered that.
Yep.
Like the thing I always profess about LSD is like it's helped me conquer my anxieties.
Good.
Like, I mean this experience with podcasting especially has, but like just in general, like there was eventually a point where like my third, fourth time taking LSD, because I think when you first take it, people tell you like, oh, you have to be like in a good state of mind. If you have this come up, don't deal with it, and you kind of just go with that. But the more you trip, the more you're like, okay, you know, eventually you get to a point where you realize it's going to happen. You're going to have to deal with it. You have thoughts. For me, it was like right before my separation, getting divorced, and all that. So I think that
you probably needed those thoughts.
Yeah, exactly.
You needed to go through those feelings.
Yeah,
LSD is a healthy way to go through them. I think you need to be of sane mind going through LSD, but I don't think you need to be of happy mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's such an experience that sometimes you just need to fucking cry, and I don't know why, but it's hard. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, and people have this like perceived notion that like when you trip, you're supposed to be happy the whole time, and I don't believe that at all.
Nope.
I really this perception that where it's like that, like what you really need to do. What I think people should use LSDs for is to like experience things and to like use it as a tool.
Yep.
Yeah, have fun with it, but like. And maybe when you take it, maybe don't go into the mindset where it's a tool. Go into it to have fun, I should say. But take the experience and like learn from it.
The experience, that's the key word for me. Look for the experience. Look for what you're experiencing. Yeah. Look for what's changing. Because it's like the hardest part of life is seeing the simple shit. And when you take LSD, it's like blowing like let's say you're a tree and the LSD is the wind, and all of a sudden it starts blowing. Everything that's not real will move a fuck ton. It'll move all around. All the branches will move, but you'll be able to find like your middle of your tree because it won't move. The wind can't move it. The LSD is not going to move you. You're still going to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the hardest piece is like most people are looking for identification, either through like the words they're using, the feelings they're using, or like how they're interacting with the world. But most people are just looking for themselves. That's what I truly believe. They want to be happy inside.
Yes.
And happiness isn't something you do. It's something you are. And that doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but it's through finding that trunk of the tree that you find happiness yourself, whatever like cliche metaphor you want to use. You know what I mean? But it's true. That's where it's at. That's 100% where it's at.
Yeah. Fucking.
And LSD will rock your shit. I think My mom is a recovering addict of like 30 years, NA.
Wow.
My father was too. I have mad respect for anybody recovering an addiction. Addiction's a real disease. But if I was to give her one drug, it would be LSD. Because of that basic principle. I mean, you come away from one experience, you're going to be like, I'm changing this about my life. I'm going to eat better. And you'll actually do it. I'm going to stop smoking cigarettes. I'm going to stop drinking caffeine.
I have quit smoking cigarettes due to, like, I took acid 2 days before 420. And, like, I was, like, kind of smoking during the trip. But I was, like, getting sick of it. Then the day after, I had one cigarette. And I was like, this is fucking disgusting. And I have not touched a cigarette.
Not a single touch? That's awesome. That's awesome to hear.
Dude. That's the thing about our generation. Like, I think a lot of people our age, like, I don't know, maybe I'm generalizing. But at least around here, I feel like I run into more and more people our age that are using psychedelics.
Absolutely. And especially ketamine.
I'm not really. I've heard
God
like
for
mixed
ketamine. Nope, amazing chemical.
Really,
absolutely outstanding. Best hallucinogenic in the world. And I've taken lots and lots of acid. I can't even like generalize how many times or pieces of acid I've taken or types, and I do love it. Deems I'm not as big of a fan of. I've done like sativa. I've done K2. I've dipped cigarettes. I've tried almost every hallucinogenic. For me, ketamine is where it's at. Ketamine type S, there's different types. The type S is more of the mental, it messes with your visual reality. There's different phases to ketamine. Should we talk about ketamine?
Yes.
Great, okay.
I don't really know a whole lot about it, so yeah, go
I love this, and I never get to talk about it. Ketamine, okay, so there's different phases to ketamine. We'll kind of walk through it. My favorite way to use ketamine, we'll start there. Ketamine in very small quantities. So the first time you use ketamine, every time it feels like you're drunk. It's like the drunk without the slosh in your belly from the alcohol. But you're in and out and you have a reality and you're like peeing, but all of a sudden you're peeing on the wall and you're like, what the fuck?
I see what you're saying. Okay.
But it's like the first time you smoke weed. You're going to like lay on the propane tank out in the backyard for 6 hours. You know what I mean? Like that's not what it is. It's just like you got to go over that point. But then after that, when you use it in like little bumps, small doses over a period of time, like 15, 20 minutes apart, and you get up to like 4 or 5 doses, you get to it's not altered, but a very lofty state of mind where like you feel the ragdollness. You feel where you're moving, but you feel how you're being pulled. You feel the lines of the universe. You feel the synchronicity. And when you're in a room with people, you can feel their energies and you feel how things are moving and you feel what part of it you have. We also call it like an honesty drug. You can't lie on ketamine. And if you do, it's so fucking obvious you look like a kindergartner lying. But you don't want to. Wow. Ketamine makes you feel like you don't want to. If you have something to profess, this is the way you get it out. And I've worked through so much shit with so much bullshit with friends that I needed to. I have lifelong friends that I stopped being lifelong friends with that through ketamine we're now friends again. And I know that sounds like obscene, but you're willing to cry together. You're willing to hold each other's hands and be like, fuck you for doing that, but I fucking love you. You know what I mean? It's like it gets you there.
So let me ask you this. How do you ingest? Do you snort it? Do you
snort it? Okay. It comes in liquid form most of the time. That's how like it chemically is being transported.
That's what I thought. So
and they dry it out and then you snort it.
Yeah, like so Steve-O, I obviously know Steve-O is he does a lot of YouTube videos and he talked about like his drug use and he described like he would like put it in the microwave.
Yep, that's how you vap the water.
Okay.
Yep, and then you snort it. One thing with ketamine, just note for everybody listening, you want to really grind it up. It does clot in your bloodstream, so when you're snorting it, if it has clots like you would with cocaine, it could actually cause cardiac like pauses. So just make sure it's finely crushed and you're totally fine. I've never met or heard or seen anybody actually do that or like have any problems, but it's just something that's been put out there and I continue to profess it.
Interesting.
But there are other points of ketamine. You can do what's called K-holing. And it's one of the deeper holes I've ever gone in. It's like Deems you blast off, right? You go straight into the universe, shoot out your head. Yep. This is the opposite direction.
Ooh. So almost like not to get like religious, but like heaven and hell. No, not
Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
yeah, where it's like really weird, but you're like inside of the reality and like you can interact with people, but you're like not there with everybody. Like I've heard people say like the Bananas had conversations with them. The last time I K-holed, and I tried not to for the most part because I don't need to go that far. I like the medium effects. I like the true serum part of it, the lofty feeling. But last time I was listening to house techno inside of a strip club. They do Porn Stars Ball in Iowa City, which is like a big event.
Really?
Yeah, and like 200 people come into the strip club, and we have like an EDM rave.
Damn.
Yep. So I DJ'd early in the night. Later in the night, I took too much ketamine too fast, and the other DJ was DJing like techno, like boom, 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 just like really hard progressive stuff, and do this stuff. All of a sudden, I'm in a hip hop video shooting for MTV. It is cop theme with red and blue lights, and I'm a hip hop dancer. And like this all made sense. And so this other girl who happened to be black was sitting next to me, and me and her were the main dancers. So I'm dancing hip hop with her, and this lasts like 10 minutes, and I come back out of it, and this is still happening. All of a sudden I hear the techno, and I'm like coming back too. I look at her, I'm like, what the fuck did you just experience? You know what I mean? It's like, what the hell? What the hell happened? I wasn't like it doesn't make you belligerent or anything bad. It just like puts you too far. You know what I mean? You just like go out of it.
Damn. Wow.
But little doses are where it's at. It's very euphoric feeling. It feels like acid without the huge come up and come down. You're like in those like peak acid points where it like all makes sense.
How long does it last?
10-15 minutes on one bump.
Okay, so it's closer to like maybe cocaine or DMT, where it's very short.
Yeah, and the thing to do from personal experience would be like, let's say you're doing an all night thing. If you did a quarter to a third of a gram in a night, and maybe 2-3 bumps of cocaine throughout the night, the cocaine will keep you stimulated above, and the top region, it feels like you're being held by a string by your head, but your body becomes like loose and transparent. You just like follow the flow. I have gotten luckier. I've experienced more synchronicity, more irony. I've seen cooler shit and been in cooler places than ever before because of the drug ketamine. It aligns you with your highest probability, your highest self, whatever the fuck you want to call it. There's literally better versions of you participating in this, and it's about what you feel and see and where you do choose to put your attention. Ketamine will take away almost all the conditioning. You're like root self and you're following it. But it's so enjoyable, and you feel so you, and you feel so close to the people who are confessing their words to you. It's unreal.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is.
I don't fuck with cocaine, so I guess
I don't blame that. I don't blame you for that. I don't either.
So I guess I don't. I don't know. The whole thing for me is like I've always been afraid of like snorting something. You know what I mean?
In your nose.
Yeah. But no, I mean that sounds.
And you can
like,
ingest it in your drink. If you
That's
slosh
true.
around in a drink,
Or
it's the
even
same
gum.
The gum,
Yeah.
same toxicity. Absolutely.
It's true.
Most people do it through their nose just because of the easy use. I bet.
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
Well, and just like the kind of the culture behind it, I'm sure.
I'm sure they're really sending to you in spoons.
Rolling up the dollar bill. And
Yep. Well, now the thing, everybody's wearing a necklace with little spoons on them, so everybody can just.
Oh
serve you right from their necks.
Fuck yeah. That's like some old school Coke shit. You know?
It is. It's
Fuck
back.
yeah.
It's back. It's everywhere right now.
Damn, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. Like I've heard like really mixed things about ketamine, so I guess I never really dove into it or like even really researched it.
For me, I'm happy I took it after a decade of using LSD. Like the first couple experiences were like, I can feel what's here that I want, but the other parts are pretty radical. And then after like the third time, I was like, yo, I love this. And I don't DJ on LSD. I don't DJ on any drugs. I will on a couple of bumps of ketamine. It makes me more me, and I don't mess up. I'm more fluid. I'm more myself. And like that takes a lot for me to say. I don't think chemicals make you more you at any point in time. The chemical isn't you. You're experiencing something other than yourself.
Yeah.
But there's something, I don't even know what it does. I don't even know what part of it it's cueing into. It's unlike anything else. But it is very psychedelic, like an LSD feel. And the next day you have the same glow. Like, you know, on acid, the next day you're like glowing. It's the same thing on ketamine. The next day you're like, God, I feel good.
Yeah, it's weird. And like, but you know, that's kind of the weird thing with acid is like, you can have that feeling going into your day, but if the next day just happen. Like, if you just happen to have some shit happen. Like, it can do the opposite. You can be like, God, fuck everything. Like, get all pissed and shit.
And turn down.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's interesting. Fuck. We've already been going on for like an hour and 20.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. You want to take a short break here?
Sure.
Maybe we can come back to it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know the rules. I remember smoking under 18, and although I'm happy I did chemicals when I was younger, I wouldn't allow anybody else to do them if I had any control over it. I would say I would wait until you have enough grasp of your emotions.
Yeah, I would agree.
To start playing with the tools to fuck with them.
I would agree. I think there is like an important part to like. I don't know. Maybe this is biased just because of how I grew up, but like I think there is like an important component to like growing up and like getting through high school, like not like using drugs recreationally or like using alcohol recreationally like I do now.
Right.
You know, like sure maybe you can like dabble in there every once in a while, but like, you know, obviously when you're in high school, you're not gonna come home and like slam 3 beers and like
no. But there does need to be some allotment of rebellion, because I wouldn't have felt human unless I had something to do rebellion in high school. I felt a lot of my humanism stripped away from me inside of that corridor, and I loved high school. I fucking enjoyed the shit out of high school, and I wasn't like a popular prick or anything like that. I was in band and music and all the sports, everything. I was blessed in a small school, but I don't know. High school is a weird time for everybody, though. Yeah, and that's the reason you don't do it. Don't depend on anything like that. Then that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, exactly. I guess the real thing is like just do you. If anybody's in high school listening to this,
yes,
which I doubt, but
if you are, you're doing well.
Yeah, you're doing well. Exactly. You're way ahead of anyone else. Right, I'll tell you that. If you're intelligent enough to sit down and listen to a podcast. But yeah, no, like, cause that's the whole thing. Like when you're in high school, if there's one thing I wish I could take, I wish I could like have not listen to people, but like listen to people less.
Cool.
I wish I had taken some more liberties and maybe some more risks.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yep. I partied a lot. I did anything I wanted. I was the only one of my kind, so I was judged no matter what. So I just did it. I got lucky. My parents enabled me. I did all the cliche shit, and I didn't get in trouble for any of it.
Oh, you did not? You said?
Nope. So I was very blessed in that sense. High school was very lucky for me. I actually married my high school dream girl.
Wow. Okay.
Tracy would not even date me in high school. She friend zoned the shit out of me. She was my best friend. She'd even tell her boyfriends it was okay. She cuddled me because we were such good friends. Like, ooh, that's the level of friend zoned.
Holy shit.
I sat in the bathroom and talked to her almost every shower. That type of thing, like ultimate friend zone. Yeah. But she was so good at helping me find who I was supposed to be dating next. I don't know. She was the ultimate wingman. So, yeah, high school was great. But I ended up marrying her after high school, like 5 years later. I went to college and came back and ran into her. And we, after hanging out, I was dating a girl and living with her. After hanging out with her for 2 weeks, I broke up with the girl. Another 30 days later, we were dating, due to be engaged. 3 months later, we were engaged. 3 months later, we were married.
I'm not passing any judgment. No, obviously,
it's fucking crazy.
Obviously, you have kids. You guys, every time I see you guys on social media, you look so happy.
Thank you. We are happy. We work very hard at it. It's hard work.
Yeah. And I mean, and that, you know, anything that's good takes hard work.
Yes.
You know,
and it was one of those things where like we knew enough about life to know that it was about choices that you made, not places you were that made you happy.
Yeah.
And so I am a very free spirit. I will do whatever sounds fun. She is the seriouser one. And she looked at me and she says, I'm not dating you or fucking you until you tell me we're having a kid and getting married. And I was like, so are you saying yes to me asking you out?
Wow, that is really straightforward. Holy shit.
She is that straightforward. But I've always known I needed that. And like she is such a balancing act to me. She does such good things. And she's so... Everything about her is the opposite of me, down to a T. We have this... There's an app that we use called The Pattern. And they take in like 16 different like astrology signs and all this stuff and mixes it and gives you like daily recommendations. Most of that shit is kind of hit or miss to me. A lot of it like depends on the irony of it. This one for some reason is so spot on. It's fucking spooky. But inside of that, the reason I'm talking about it is me and Jay. It allows you to match up with people or like say me and them. How do we compare? And it says you guys are stark fucking opposites. There's no way you should work. Don't do that. But if you do it, this is the epitome of a relationship. There's everything you are looking for in the other person. You will have everything you need to rub against to make you your full self. And it's like, that is exactly what I'm experiencing. I hate her and love her so fucking much. That's what it takes, you know?
Exactly. It's this weird mentality you have to have.
We committed from the beginning. I got her tattooed on my arm. That's her as a pinup.
Oh, nice.
This is how I asked her to marry me.
Oh, you see, got tattooed to ask.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, so
Holy
check out my new
shit.
tattoo, and I got down on one knee, and this knee was up. And I said, will you marry me? Yeah.
Well, I mean, congrats to you.
Thank you.
I would have ran personally, but
any other girl in this world, don't get me wrong, and almost any other guy I recommend running. That's not the scenario I say play out. But this was so unique and so special. That's what happened. You know what I mean?
No, and like that's the thing is
It
like
is.
that is the really weird thing is you do find these people that like how they went about everything is just like against any rational way of thinking, but like you can tell that they're happy. You can tell that they're actually.
And sometimes you got to grab it. Grab life by the balls, like in a saying, grab what you want. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted JC. I wanted to be with her. I know how happy she made me all those years of friendship. I know how shitty girls were me all this time. I know who I was with, and she was making me the most happy anybody else could. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Just fucking do it. And that's why I have her now, is because I can't always do that. But that is my mentality.
Yeah.
JC is a good opposite to me. She stops me.
That's the important thing, to have an opposite. To have a little, it's like yin yang Buddhism, you know, positive and negative.
And some of my like I was saying earlier with my chakra work, the stuff I'm working through is in my lower chakras, and like supposedly what that means is it's some of the more like humanistic stuff. I need an opposite to like pull me down and ground my feet a little bit. I'm like, my upper portions are very much in alignment, but that doesn't make me real a lot of times. And
Yeah.
people feel that of me. People, when I innately meet somebody, will either like me or not like me. People are always nice to me, don't get me wrong, but like, I seem fake to somebody, but it's because of that, because I don't have that grounding. That's what I feel. It's not, I don't lie. I'm not trying to be fake. This is the realest I can be, but that's what it appears like, and I blame it on that. Yeah, I don't know. She rips those parts. She's been ripping those parts open for me, and that's what I need.
Well, hey, you know, that's great, man. That really makes me truly happy to hear
Thank
that
you.
people are, you know, doing that. You know, I obviously don't. Well, not obviously. I don't have kids. But I have you know, that was kind of the weird thing getting separated. Is like I had a realization right before that I wanted kids. You know, I think with taking a lot of it had probably to do with LSD.
So you had a big break point right at the end of your relationship where you like started like coming into your own like thinking.
Yeah. Like thinking about like, oh my god, like well, we're not gonna do this in there. I'll tell you what happened off air. But so I guess what I'm trying to, or what I wanted to ask,
Yes, please.
what's it like having kids? Like,
What's it like having kids? Holy shit.
well, like
Yes.
just get into all that.
Okay. It's a lot of what everybody says. It's wonderful and crazy. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, for me, I know that I'm going to remember these times more than any other in my life, and I can feel that while I'm doing it. It's so special. These kids say and do things that I can see that I know I did to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
That's
they're so
really weird.
fucking cute and so fucking adorable. And I don't know. I'm not really, like, I have ambitions and I'm doing stuff in my life, but like 90% of my attention is just watching whatever the fuck they're doing and just being around them and enjoying my time there. They choose most of what we do. Me and my wife, me and JC, have chosen that one of us has always been at home with them. So when each of them were born, for the first like 2 years, JC stayed home. And then the back 2 years, so for like a year and a half there, and then another one was born. Now I've been home for almost 3 years. So I get to be a stay-at-home dad. And like,
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Wow, you're a stay-at-home dad. Holy shit.
That's actually my first title I would take right now. Because I do a lot of other shit, but like that's where most of my responsibility comes in. That's the reason I wake up. It's the reason I go to sleep. It's like what helps fight the depression. You know what I mean? It is my point. It's crazy how much something like that can mean to you, and you can talk to it, but you can't tell any of these real feelings to. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean anything to your child to tell that to. It means something to JC. It would mean something to them as an adult. You know what I mean? It means something through their life that I feel that way. But that conversation doesn't happen. You know? It's crazy being the guardian of information, the shepherd of information. That part's surreal. That, like, as things happen, like, let's say these protests, and we're in Target, and all of a sudden Target gets shut down, and we can't buy anything, and we go outside and people are yelling, "Fuck the police." Your son turns to you and says, "Why are people saying naughty word to the police?" It's surreal being the person who gets to decipher that information into the little minds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's special. That's so unique. And like we've done, one thing I would say about me and JC and that I am most grateful for and would hold on the highest is that we've done such a good job for so long that the ability to give them the information, their ability to receive it, understand it, and the ability to emotionally adjust to it is so high that it's almost fluid. It's almost easy. It's literally a choice for me and JC to decide what information to give them rather than like have to negotiate the emotional boundaries of things.
Yeah. And
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I completely understand. That was always my fear with like having kids with my ex, and I feel like that's even my fear like going through life.
Yeah.
Because I have like I feel like with my background, my views, I tend to have like a very like middle ground, like weird perspective that like, you know, obviously you're never gonna agree with anyone to the T, but like when it comes to like kids and those issues, like I always imagine that there's like a conflict where I'm like one way and
or the kid gets to witness the conflict.
Yes. Yeah.
The kid, as long as you both present your sides equally, don't discredit the other, and don't use emotions to persuade your argument. If you're presenting your information and saying this is how I feel because of this, the kid needs to understand that. And if he sees both parents can feel both ways, then they get more complex like you are.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I guess I never thought of it like that.
It's literally, it's the hardest part is being so simple honest. It's not about being honest. It's the complexity that baffles everybody. It seems like lying. It's about like what's the rawness of this? What's happening? Why are we doing that? You know what I mean?
Well, and that's kind of, you have to explain it to them.
Yes, the kids just want that explanation, and they also want some. One thing I have found is kids want some guidance and relativeness to how you feel about the situation. So I'm not prescribing like you should feel sad. You know what I mean? I would never do that to any human. But they like when I was leaving, it's like I think they're feeling really sad and mad right now. I think that they feel that they don't get to say or do things that they want, that people are pushing or doing, you know, like when I ground you to your room and don't let you out. Could you imagine that if in your life about your job, if you only had jobs that were grounded to your room? And like help with those feelings. They're looking for like that complexion, that kind of stuff to come across. That's I think where my kid is, my oldest boy is currently at. I have a 4-year-old girl too, and she's just blissful about the entire world. She's not picking up on anything yet. She's just learning to talk and stuff. She's just joy. But Aldo, he's almost 8, and he's probably one of the most complex human beings I've ever met.
Wow, really?
And most empathetic. I've never, especially for a guy, it's hard to pick up on other people's feelings, but then to say things that would actually empathize or correlate in their reality is hard for us. Most of the time we want to be like, why are you feeling that way, or how do we get out of it? Aldo will just give you a hug. Aldo will just say, I love you and I'm sorry you're feeling that way. And nobody like did. I didn't even do that to him. I'm not even good at that yet. You know what I mean? Like he just naturally does that inside of himself. Yeah, damn. All the time that's how I feel is, damn, these kids. That's what I'm saying. It's like the current reality fucking sucks, but I have such high hope for what's next. And that was part of what me and JC, like, I was never going to have kids. I come from, my father was a biologist and actually worked on like Obama's climate change agenda, and
wow, your father
was the director of the Iowa DNR for 4 years. And so I come from like, the world's going to burn. The world's going to shit. We are killing it. We are destroying ourselves. And like nightly dinner conversation was about the parts per million of different chemicals in the air and what we've learned to adjust them, shit like that. So like I come from like a doomsday house without any preparation, that type of thing. Yeah.
Well, not to be an asshole, but that kind of aligns with their addiction. they're like having that mentality. Like,
absolutely. It was that mentality just put into a purposeful thing. Yeah. And that's how I view addiction recovery things, is they don't necessarily fix it. That's why they're looking at it as a disease. They just help you realign and recenter. But I did grow up in that. But yeah, no, where was I coming from?
We were talking about kids, obviously.
Yeah. So my childhood just came out. No, I had a really good. My dad was pretty aggressive about information, but we weren't allowed to feel. That's how I would say. Most things had to feel good. If you're sad, let's work through it quick to get back to the good. Really? And that's something like I want to make sure isn't perpetuated. I think that happens a lot. And like you want to feel good, and it is something that you can do to yourself to achieve, but that's also not real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you should feel really fucking sad. Sometimes you should be mad. Sometimes you should be hurt. Sometimes you should be offended. You know what I mean? Like, those aren't bad feelings. They aren't bad scenarios that got you there. You need this. You need those to, like, it's like a bumper car hitting the wall. You should steer a little bit better. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
you need to learn
the people you're around need to adjust, or maybe you need to be in a different setting, or have different words, or listen to different music.
Exactly. You need to adapt to your environment.
Yes, or adapt yourself. I think so. In that, there's two sides to every coin. You can do things in our reality forwards or backwards, left or right, right? That's how a coin is made. There's two sides. Yep. So you can do things to shift your reality. I find that hard. Our reality takes a lot of money and energy to shift. Yeah. And most of the time, like, we don't, even the house I live in, like, I got to choose the house, but I didn't fucking build it. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to do things like that. I find all the work I can do is on the other side of the coin, is the inward stuff. And that will manifest outwardly. When you affect one side of the coin, the other side of the coin affected. So if I want a nicer car, get myself on a higher vibration, and the nicer cars on the other side of the coin, if that makes sense.
Yeah, have personal goals, and, like,
boom,
you know, you have to believe that, like, the vibrations you give, and, like, you know, in action, people are going to learn from your action.
That's something I've learned too, is you can't preach truth. You have to, like, it's like a Jesus effect. Like, you have to, like, show it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, in the best way possible, like what Jesus was supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like a good guy walking around doing good things. People are like, how is he doing good shit? And he's like, you should read a book. And everybody's like, book. You know what I mean? Like, but, like, that could be a really good thing if the book had good information, you know?
Yeah. Except the gays, though. Ricky Gervais, he does a bit where he's talking about, like, creationism and, like, it's Noah's Ark, and, like, he talks about how he was showing his kid this book, and how Jesus is depicted as, like, very feminine in the book, and the kid was asking if, and something like, it seemed like Jesus was having a hissy fit, and the kid asked, like, is Jesus gay? And he's like, no, he hates him.
No, he hates them. That's pretty straightforward. It's honest.
Religion's like Jesus fucking Christ.
I grew up in a religious, I mean, not practicing, but, like, they brought me to church every Sunday because it's what they were supposed to do. Yeah. That type of house.
So was it like, we can get into this if you don't mind.
Please.
Like, what, I guess, like, what denomination, or, like, what was, like, your situation?
So I think my parents came from Lutheran, so we started out in Lutheran, and that was like happy, lots of food afterwards, donuts after each time. But then our pastor died, and so then we shopped churches, and we became evangelical free.
You didn't, like, a pastor didn't come back. You just, like, or, like, he
died, and he was, like, the special one my parents loved or something.
I see. So they just made a decision.
And they didn't like their other or didn't like him as much. He didn't have the right message or something. I was not involved with the choice.
Kids usually aren't.
And then at that time, free churches were booming. So, like, 2006, that era.
Yeah.
And that was fucking crazy. Yeah, and that was the most radical I've ever seen a cult or a church be. And that was, like, let's go all over the world and build shit for them that they wouldn't otherwise get, and then tell them it's only because of Jesus and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't mean to sidetrack, but, like, that's the whole thing, like, that experience, like, a mission, like, when people did the missionaries, you're pouring, like, cause they would, like, throw these fundraisers, like, I need however much fucking money. It's expensive to go to another country, especially
like 20, 30 grand to get a group of people there to build a new water fountain or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And, like, you could be putting that money directly, like,
you could give it to them.
Exactly.
That's fucking tribe's entire year's salary. You know what I mean? They could feed each other twice as much food. Yeah. That. I don't understand the need for the white person to be involved in the building. If you need if you're that secure and you need a turbine or thing there, which I agree with, then why don't we invest in just building it there? Why do you need to be there? Why do you need to hug a black kid?
Well, yeah, and, like, if your real goal is,
like, zooing these children, you know what I mean? I don't. I understand the empathy. I don't understand the passion.
I see what you're saying. Well, no, and, like, you would think you would want to give them the tools,
right,
to be able to, you know, do it themselves.
Teach somebody how to build wells.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That is way more valuable than just going in.
Give them a well-digging truck? Yeah. That sounds really worthwhile. It's like
the 2001 Space Odyssey, how there's, like, the monolith, and, like, they don't know what the fuck to do with it. They're like, oh, we can't make another one of these. We don't know, like, this is, like, such a... I was listening to a podcast the other day and I heard a very interesting analogy. Like if we brought like nuclear atom fusion back like 100 years ago, 50 years ago, probably even, people would think it was like a godlike like
creation.
Creation.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
It's
the church would probably own it 100 years ago.
Yeah, right? There'd be like an entire like science class just like revolved around the church.
We are only like 300, 400 years, less than that, 250, 300 years away from the Christian church dominating our entire society.
Yep, it's true.
And we are just now getting to the parts where our literature isn't Christian dominated or chosen.
Exactly.
Everything you find in a library still, 99%, 98% of it is still Christian chosen literature. Most of the stuff that was passed still isn't released from their libraries.
Yeah.
And we're just now starting to get people who can articulate enough forward to be able to write new stuff.
Exactly. Well, yeah, they're in, the whole atheistic movement. Like that is, I've just seen that grown so much in the last decade.
I understand atheism. I definitely went through my.
Yeah, I guess I was going to ask this.
There is no nothing. Yeah. So I went from the E3, then the big thing for them was they said at one point during a sermon, if you don't vote for George Bush, you are going to hell.
Oh God! Of course.
I know. They literally said that.
Don't you love it when politics get religious?
And that's so illegal. So then my parents were like, "We need more religion. We're gonna go Baptist." And shortly after that, I was in my teens, and I got put in a judgment chair where you got to talk about your view of God, while everybody else in the youth group told you all that was wrong with you. Yeah.
That's like mob mentality for like 100%.
Oh, it was fucking terrible. And I'm a rebel at heart, and these kids were like the pastor's child, the judge's child. Like I got my ass ripped to shreds by their views, nothing in reality. You know what I mean? Their judgments.
Yeah. What's
terrible.
written in a book? Yeah.
Yeah, terrible. So then shortly after that, I went atheist. There's nothing. If that's a god, I don't want anything to do with it.
That's the typical jump. Yeah.
But again, hallucinogenics, exploring, and just having kids exploring life, there's no way that there isn't some divination to this. Even if it's just a fucking pattern or a puzzle being played out, I will still give my praise to whatever that is. It knows more than I do. There's something happening here that is of a greater substance than me. So agnostic, new age, so my DJ name is Snag, right?
Yeah.
It's an acronym for smart new age guy.
Oh.
So my theology, myself, what I call is New Age. It is the dawning of Aquarius. I believe we're in the turning over of something new, and all I'm trying to do is figure that out. My current question out loud is, what is the energy exchange we're missing? So right now it's currency or trading. There's this value summary that is for anything we do, anything that is of our doing. The rest of reality does not exchange that. The rest of reality does not feel that way. Doesn't even get those inclinations. When the lion eats the deer, the rest of the deers aren't pay up.
Yeah.
That doesn't fucking happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The deer doesn't even suffer. The deer just knows it's his day to die. What exchange are we missing in all that? Where there's so much suffering caused by whatever misalignment of energy exchange we have happening. I know it needs to be more chaotic, and I know it needs to be more personable and less corporate, but I don't know that part is my ongoing question. What does that look like?
So I'm kind of more playing devil's advocate here.
Please hit me.
So I guess here's my question: do you think we can we ever figure that out?
We'll have to.
We have to.
Yeah, I think have to, as in it's already being done. Once one individual does it, every individual will become it. It's evolution. Mm-hmm. So there's two ways to look at everything, right? When the butterflies are in the forest and they were all blue, and then the new power plant comes and it changes the skies a little bit grayer, and one of the butterflies are born a little bit grayer, and he survives and replicates, and all the blue ones die because they're more visible. Now all the butterflies are gray. That's evolution. That's one perspective. That's called forced evolution.
Yep.
Evolution also happens. All evolution is forced in all perspectives, but evolution can also happen from one individual. That one butterfly could have chosen to be gray. He could have chosen to shift himself, especially once you start getting into cognitive dissonance, where you're inside. What we are now working on, what makes us different than nature, is the self-identity. We understand there's a self. It's our idea of self that distances us from reality. It's our misalignment of self that makes it so we can't see the truth.
Whoa, that's a lot in itself about evolution. But
yes.
Sorry, continue.
No, so this is already happening. There's already been people who. So have you heard of Maslow's hierarchy? You're kind of taught it in
maybe.
school. The reason you're not fully taught it is because the higher levels don't want to be talked about. So they talked about the lower levels where you need like water and shelter, food. You need social conduct. You need self-inside recollection. The highest peak of that is called actualization. It's where you attain like self-divination. Like you are who you're supposed to be. You can see yourself. You're around the right people. Everything's happening fluidly for you. You're happy. You have food and water. We should be able to attain that. Most people in this reality, in this world, should be able to attain that. That's already happened for a lot of people. A lot of people are already actualized. As long as that's happening, there's no stopping what's coming. That is a different reality. And like, there's this book, Ishmael, who's about this gorilla who's a master of captivity, but not of his own captivity, of the human condition. And this gorilla what the story is he can send thoughts to you. So it's like he's talking to you.
Okay.
And he went through a life, and in this gorilla's dying wishes, he puts out a newspaper ad for anybody who wants to save the world. And this guy shows up and listens to this gorilla, and through this thing, like, starts to understand what this gorilla is saying. It's actually...
You're talking about like a transcendence almost kind of thing?
Kind of, but what he's pointing out is the condition we live under. There's a reality that we believe exists that we are shown through living. Being born now, this is the reality you're shown. It's called a condition. You can shift that. You can believe worse, better, less, more, but there's a truth to inside of that we can all share. And what he starts to do is break this down and explains to you why there's a difference between you and the person who's angry. So like what I believe is actually happening right now is like let's say with the protesters, a prime example, there's two sides to everything, right? There's the side that's saying this ship is working. Let's say it's a flying vessel. This thing is flying. We are flying. You just need to pedal harder. Get back in line. Fucking shut up and pedal harder. And this thing's been working. It's working the whole time. We're all flying. While the other side of it is like, this isn't flight. We built this thing. We didn't know the rules of aerodynamics. This isn't aerodynamic. It's not flying. We're falling. We're just falling to the bottom, and it feels like flying to you. This sucks. That's the difference. We're now at a point in like human understanding. We have the information. We've explored enough and done enough scientific research besides religion that we can now come back to spirituality with that understanding and build a flying ship that is actually aerodynamic, that we can all get inside of and fly together. That is a human flying machine. That couldn't have been possible before. We don't have to be mad about it. They didn't have the information.
Yeah.
But now we can be like, yo, they were just dumber than we are. We can evolve.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, is really frustrating to explain to people. Is like, do you realize that we're in a completely different place than what we even were 50 years ago? Our level of understanding is like far beyond anything that we could have possibly imagined back then.
And we're not even digesting the level we
Yeah,
could
we're
be.
not even close.
Not even close to what we could be.
We're chiseling away at like this entirety of something.
But there's a group of people who will always think, for a long time, there'll be this group of people who will think that this is the reality we have. There's nothing you can do about it. We just need to get it better, and we need to work harder at it. Then there's this other group that's like, that's not the only truth. And that group, I believe, is fully destined to be the change. There's no stopping that. You can't stop evolution. I can't find of a single example. That gives me a lot of hope, honestly. That's why I'm so...
Yeah.
I can't find a single example, like, let's say we all didn't have eyes and somebody was born with eyes. That's how we got eyes. You know what I mean? Or like that, not that drastic of a step, but like things like that. I don't know where where understanding yourself on a higher level, unless we like revolt and allow stupid people to kill smart people. You know what I mean? Like, or idiocracy happens where they're reproducing at rates that exceed everybody else.
Well, that's kind of something I was thinking about. You could maybe make the argument today with overpopulation and all that. It's kind of interesting.
But even so, I think their kids are... I think this people don't change without a pressure. I don't think it's pain. I think it's a pressure that causes change, is like less layman term. But I think even the kids of the people now who aren't comprehending the pressure are going to feel it. I think they're still... Like, the boomers I know are still feeling the pressure. They just can't comprehend it. They blame somebody else. Mm-hmm. These kids are first going to blame their parents, and then they're going to blame the entire reality of it.
Yeah,
that is different. That's a change in and of itself. So, yeah, I don't think this much hate can transpire like that because of what other people are doing. They're making it evident, the not hate evident.
Yeah, that's true. It's like I said before. I think religion has a big, like in that situation specifically. I think religion probably has a big part in that. So I guess it'd be curious to see how that all, what we're talking about, how it all goes about.
There's another book, Loving Buddha, Loving Christ. and he explains Buddha, and he explains Christ, and then he explains what each culture is understanding and how they're are actually the same. And I know that like somehow that all makes sense because like people say analogies like that. You've heard things of that nature, but this book does it in such a way that like I had Jesus issues. I was very angry, very fucking angry at the church, very angry at like this is what you call God, this is what you call love, and like they took those words away from me. This book fixed all that for me. But so talking about actualization, when Jesus was on earth, he was actualized. He was the only human being on actualized. And this happens with all big like creative ideas. Like when music hit, when the Renaissance hit, there's 3 or 4 main leaders in those types of thoughts that push it into the entire world. Like Mozart time period, there's like 3 or 4 big people that changed that world. Plato's time period, there's like 3 or 4 people that changed that world. This happens in like spurts like that. So Jesus, Buddha was all around the same time-ish period. And what was happening was this new realm of human experience was coming through. I believe the greatest misinterpretation was let's say he was actualizing, he was understanding his world. He was from the beginning. That's what they were saying, is he never had any sin, which means he never understood our perspective. He was never human conditioned. So as he was saying shit, I'm sure it sounded really good from where he was from, but as everybody was interpreting it, they were still full of shit. You know what I mean? And so that's the difference, the dissidence that happened there. When he died and rose again, that's a next state of human evolvation. Is called enlightenment. So enlightenment, there's a soul inside your body. We can all kind of agree on that. When you die, something turns off. That turning off is whatever enlightenment allows you to move through. I've read things that talk about like when you vibrate at such a high level, you can appear and disappear. And even monks have done this in like Asia and stuff. It's about something within your frequency vibration, and you can elevate, you can float, you can do those types of things. And I know it sounds fanciful, but I think it'll become more prevalent as more people actualize, as we raise the overall energy wave, the tightening of it through the few individuals that are better adjusted will be able to. But yeah, no, I do hope for good. I think we're going to go through a few really big rough patches. I think we're at the peak epitome of human experience right now for a while.
We're at least at one of them.
Yeah. And I think I really hope for automation. I really hope that we can fold the cards and we can automize this shit and let the people making money pay for it until we take it back. I hope we can just get through the transition before what we're going through, I think, has been done many times before. Even for example, my best example is the Mayans. They believe now that the Mayans, the elitists got so elite and had all the information and all the wealth that most people just rose up and killed them all. And that's why they look like they disappeared, is because that kind of killed off their civilization.
They actually used peyote.
They did. Mayans. I have a funny story about that. And it's not peyote. They had this tree. So I was on this paid tour, middle of summer, almost nobody's there. It's hot as fuck. And we're going through Chichen Itza. I have a tour guide. He's like me, my dad, and 2 other people with us. And we walk up to where they sacrifice people, and he takes down the leaf on a tree and starts burning it. And as he's talking, he's holding it in my face. He's like, "This is the sacrifice, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "This tree they actually used to ingest before the sacrifice as a way to meet God." As I'm like starting to roll into a tree. I'm exploring Chichen Itza, rolling my balls off. And it was like a heat wave trip, like just color waves just washing you over, and you're just like being washed by these like feelings of heat and waves. And I'm like drooling, trying to like follow my tour guides. Little Inca kids are like offering me beads and plates. I literally bought like 3 t-shirts. I have like 4 plastic platters because they look so like, or clay platters that made these artwork things. They look so beautiful when I looked at them. I bought them all. Mind you, I was 17 years old.
Oh, wow, really?
I was with my parents.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that did happen to me. Yeah, no warning, no talk about what it was before. He's like literally like waving it in my face, telling me to smell it. Yeah, that was a good, I'd say like an hour and 15, 2-hour-minute trip, something like that.
That would be a terrible first. I assume that was your first time you ever took. No, it wasn't. Oh,
nope.
Okay.
My first acid experience was at 15 years old.
Well, okay. I guess I'm talking about like peyote specifically.
Yeah, my only peyote or whatever that tree was. It was like a big tree. Like I guess it would 15 foot tall, but real wide. Like take up this whole this area easy.
Wow.
and like you smelled it, and it was definitely almost immediate hallucinogenics. And like I was saying, like heat waves. It was like this very much like coming at you and you're like type of feeling.
That's so bizarre. Damn, I've never heard anything like that. But I would think that would be like DMT related somehow. Maybe, I don't know.
It was definitely chemical, and it was grown right there. Like it was very specific in that spot. You know what I mean? Because that's where they were making sacrifices. They like beheaded people and threw people over a well right there.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about like buying a lot of shit, because that's I was like just recently listening to something about this. Like when you, I guess it's not peyote, so maybe it's not relevant. But like when you take those kind of, like when you take peyote, for instance, you are very susceptible to like influence. Like you're very like, so that was kind of like a whole thing with like the Mayans, is like they kind of like did this to like put the civilians like in like a state, like almost like a brainwashed kind of state, to allow them to get to that power, and then probably eventually they just realized it.
And I think they used it as a reward. So you can attain being fucked up while we kill you, or you can stay in this punishment. I think they were very much like what we feel now, where it's not necessarily like this, but it's like this.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's that kind of thing is what I think it's very similar to what we're feeling. I'm guessing we're gonna follow down a very similar path, unfortunately, especially with like. I think civil unrest is going to continue happening, blah, 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 but I think environmentally things are about to shift, and I think the common person is a decade behind where the government is in like movement and stuff, and I think they'll move so fast and so swift. I think that's where people will be like, I don't trust you at all anymore, and that's where things will like turn or get more controlled or whatever way they flip at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a whole other fucking thing. Like, who knows how that would go down? You know, that whole civil unrest, uprising, that kind of thing, that mentality. It's, you know, I don't know. I don't have the answer.
I'm happy I don't know. Otherwise, scary people would be asking me way too many scary questions. I like playing in my backyard on my trampoline.
Where do you get the weapons? No.
Right. They have them. Area 51 is what I hear.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, what was that?
It said they have them in Area 51 is what I hear.
Oh, right. Yeah, that shit's really... Are you a big alien fanatic?
Like I believe in them. It's not the rabbit hole I fall down.
Yeah, I mean neither.
But I don't deny that in all probability, in all space and time, that some other sentient life form exists.
Yeah.
Exactly. Fuck yeah. Like it's probable. I don't know.
I would say likely, even on like a...
I would imagine so. It seems simple enough. Like, I know life is complex, but, like, in that much time and space.
Exactly.
How complex can anything be?
It would happen at some point. Well, that's kind of the theory of the aliens and, like, time travel is, like, space is so vast that, like, by the, like, let's say, like, we're a civilization, an alien planet, however many light years away, what's going to visit us. Like, by the time they get here... there's a likelihood they're probably not even still alive unless they have like a vessel that's like able to self-sustain an entire society for that long,
or freeze them or something.
Right. Well, that's the.
But
that's
you start fucking with time when you start moving too fast or too long.
Yeah.
And even being in space, they age differently than we do here on Earth.
Yeah.
Let alone you start getting outside of like a gravitational system, like a planetary system, and you start in like open space. Who knows what the fuck?
Yeah. You ever see Inception?
Yeah.
That movie fucked me up.
I actually
more than one time.
Like 3-4 days ago, fell down a rabbit hole where I was watching something about how far the Nazis had gotten into space, that they sent humans light years out in space. I was hearing about that the other day too. Like, what the fuck is this? They have a landing pad on Mars and stuff like that. Is what this thing was saying. I know. I was like, damn, they really popped off.
They were the first transmission. That was like Contact. You ever see that movie?
Yep.
That's like the whole thing. They find Hitler's speech and oh fuck, like they think
that's the one that sends. Yeah.
They think the aliens are Nazis and everybody's freaking the fuck out. You know, it's interesting how Nazis were depicted in those kind of movies. I was watching Blues Brothers the other day. And they have the Chicago Nazis. And like, the fucking Nazis. And they drive. You know, it's comical.
Yep.
You could not make that in a movie today.
Not even close. No. It's too relevant. It's the scary fucking part. Well, and I think it's... So Italy is the one that's broken up right now. They have... I think it was like 16 or 20 different factions inside their central government. And the third, I'm sorry if I'm slightly off. Like the second or third largest faction, like a considerably larger fraction, is the neo-Nazi faction. The new neo-Nazi faction is what they call themselves.
In Italy?
Really? In Italy.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Isn't that fucking crazy that it's like that relevant and it's happening? And Italy is one of those special places where thoughts happen first. They're like a tall tale for like what's coming around. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I guess because we've been talking about this, and I really want to get into this. I don't know. So talking about neo-Nazis, I guess it's just kind of interesting thinking about what's happening right now with the Black Lives Matter and everything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, maybe you don't agree with this, but like I feel like every time that there's a certain movement one way, there's equally
absolutely,
you know,
it's the pendulum effect.
So I guess I'm just curious how how everything's gonna turn out, because it's already so divided. I mean, we really don't know like where either end could go. I don't know.
I think informational war and political information war is just starting. I've helped design a few campaigns. I ran a governor's campaign a couple years ago.
Wow.
And so I've been involved in that kind of stuff, and I think they're just getting their grasp around information, data gathering. They gathered for a long time, but like how to utilize it, who to target. Their targeting models are getting more sophisticated. Both nationally, Russia, China, United States are all now engaging in psychological warfare through internet and social media means.
Yep.
So I think it's just really getting started in those means. That kind of leads back to where I was saying earlier, like I hope it just lasts long enough that we can get the automation kicked in and the rich people now to pay for it. If we can get past that point, then we can allow the robots to help us transition. That's kind of my message. I still think in a lot of ways the best thing we can do is disengage. Fuck, if nobody paid attention to the news for the next month, there'll be nobody fighting.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a thing too.
I'm not saying that I am so Black Lives Matter, just to put that out there. I am so on the side of human rights of any individual. I am so against anybody speaking out or against anybody else in any fucking way. But I do know that things are perpetuated and antagonized, and I know that people aren't all on the same page with how to decipher information.
Yeah.
And so you can rile people up through common stream media. Fuck, my best friend Toby watches like Channel 8 and Channel 13. And like we don't hang out for a day and he comes back over and he's wound the fuck up about shit. It's because he watched like an hour of Channel 13. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God. I don't turn on the news.
It's getting to a point where news isn't even news anymore. It's just entertainment.
And like a different level of entertainment.
Yeah, it's like a pseudo
emotional engagement entertainment.
A pseudo realistic form of entertainment.
Yes.
It's really fucking weird.
What MTV and those
surreal
channels were trying to aim for. Like, we're gonna make you mad about these people again and again and again and again.
That's probably like a years from now we're looking back. That's probably gonna be like a really big like thing that they're gonna point out is like this like decade of reality TV is just like put people in this mentality.
And we'll be blamed for allowing people to own it like we do. There's 5 companies in the world that own all the world's media. Everything we see, every Channel 13 in every major city is owned by the same 5 companies. That's why they repeat the same information. They're just personalized to make you believe them by the local radio show.
I'm gonna pull up that clip. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
I've seen that. It's been circulating for years. But even shows like Discovery now and stuff. Discovery is owned by Rush Limbaugh.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I
Rush Limbaugh and Rupert Murdoch invested in Discovery and the Discovery magazine. So that means all of the articles that they're even funding to go do are chosen by them, let alone the way they're printed. Crazy.
Fucking crazy. Yeah.
We're saying the same things.
Yeah, like I'm sure you've
Hi,
seen
I'm
this
Fox
before.
San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about trouble and training.
The balanced news right before they
our country.
Whoever made this is really enjoying themselves.
Yeah, right. Become all too common on social media.
More
Jesus.
alarming, some
And,
media outlets
we
publish
can
the
see
same
this.
fake
We make
stories
choices to alter our
without checking
lives.
facts
There's
first.
entire generations that don't know how to do this.
Exactly.
Even when I show them this, they'll go on and watch Channel 8 News because it's what they've done the last 30 years.
Like they can't even wrap their head around this.
Right.
That's the whole thing.
That is like so hard to like argue against, move against, be around. I can't stand that.
Yeah, I'm social media. Let's just
Look at all that.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extreme.
We're fucked.
They're so far ahead of us. I remember in 10th grade, I read, there's a little blue book put out by the Koch brothers, and it was released in the like mid 90s, and it was their agenda for the next 2 decades. And at that point, I was like, yo, most of the shit is enacted. And like 2 years ago, they released a new book about their next 2 decades. And if they get their way, we are so fucked. I don't think they can. I think it's preposterous, but who knows? They are so in control right now.
The money, man. I mean, I'm
It's all
glad you
money.
mentioned that when I put when I was talking about those 2 main things, because money is a big factor in that too. Unfortunately,
money makes the decisions. What really soured me? So I'll share this. This is a pretty personal story because I respect the person I was working for. I was working for a senator. Honestly, I believe to be a good human being, really good human being. I thought was making real changes. He does. He works very hard at what he does. He's just in a shit system. He knows it, but he can do it. Anyways, I don't have the heart to stay there. He did. But he was working on a medical marijuana bill while I was with him. And I worked my ass off with him. He went to so many meetings, met with so many people. This was early days of medical marijuana.
What year would that have been? 2008. Oh, wow. Really early. Jesus.
Yeah, we were drafting the bill. So we were drafting this bill. Everybody's working together, going to lots of meetings. People are taking input. I'm helping correlate the input, sending out emails. I'm seeing everything. Like I'm his right hand man. I get there at 4 a.m, 2 hours before he does, and I leave 2 hours after him at like 6, 7 at night to make sure all of his emails are answered. I make sure his files are ready for tomorrow's meetings. Like I was doing all the stuff. I was there for all of it. I just didn't make any decisions, basically.
Yeah.
And that it was a quasi training program. Is what they do. They call them Senate aides. So this is happening. I'm very excited. I'm speaking lots of good things. Everybody's excited. All the communities are excited. It gets towards the end. We meet at a backroom bar, piano bar type of thing. We go to one of the private backroom meeting rooms. We sit down with the alcohol industry, Budweiser reps. They say, well, literally the conversation starts off, well, I know you guys like to have your average thing, but I don't know how we agree with this. Because they have a yearly party where all the senators get drunk at the state fairgrounds. And then they gave us a new bill. It didn't have anything to do with the old one. They hadn't even read it. They already had the old one, so they argued against what we had by just saying they didn't want it and gave us a new one. Without question, that was adopted, and that's what was starting to press forward. So everybody else got bullshitted. Everybody else got lied to and fed the bullshit that this is what's happening. Then he took that, acted like he was going to continue forward with it, switch without telling anybody, and continued forward. That's politics. That's good guys in politics. That's how you do it. That's good guys trying to do good things like pass medical marijuana bills.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the game. And I'm like, this is so fucking disgusting. I don't know what needs to be different. I don't know anything about life. I don't need to be here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where I stepped away. It's like, maybe someday I'll get to go back, maybe make a big change. I would love to inspire somebody else to make a big change or do something of that nature. But I am not going to participate in being the problem. You know what I mean? Like,
I see what you're saying.
That was it for me. That turned my stomach so hard because I believed so much in what was happening. But it's impossible. They are infiltrated way too deep. Everybody has it's back to the exchange. Whatever the exchange is off so bad that we can't even perceive it once we start being right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the only way it makes sense is to participate. That doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's the kind of the whole thing with like the whole, because like kind of going back to education, there's like an institutionalized like thing where it's like you have to have this certain level of education to get there, even though A, it literally costs a foot and a fucking leg to get it. B, it doesn't even seem to be like you can't even get a job with. The whole thing is just like.
It's different
disaster.
than what our parents were sold a message that worked, and they kept using that message. And in our reality, that isn't true.
It doesn't work.
No. What are you going to do with a 4-year drama degree? you're gonna go manage a retail store because that's all there is to do. Like that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's our reality. You put up retail stores and strip malls everywhere. That's what our parents did to us. You built the big box stores. We didn't. Now we are having to work those for you. That's what this looks like.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I believe in formal education. Like you look at places like Norway. Holy fuck. You can light a person up. And I hate to say this, not every parent's a good parent. Some parents are really fucking shitty.
Yep.
And some of my best friends growing up, the only way they got fed, the only way somebody took the lice off their body, the only way somebody hugged them or loved them was the teachers or special assistants helping and doing that. Like, that reality needs to exist. I want to provide that for every child. I love children way too much to take that away. But at a certain point, like 9th grade, I don't need to learn anything more about China and their development of Wuhan clan. You know what I mean? Like that does not make sense to my reality. Like we should do what Norway does and allow specializations. We should allow people to go like be woodcutters, HVAC people. You know what I mean? Like allow at that point to allow some diversity. But again, high school is one of my favorite things. So keeping that intact, like never again do you after high school get to play music with anybody.
Yeah.
Nobody sings. The musicals aren't real. Nobody's singing in the streets when a car crash happens. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't happen in the real life. That happens in high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that kind of stuff has to be cultivated. That's worth some of the bullshit. But I think we can redefine the bullshit, get rid of the testing, make it more specialized.
Yeah.
Teachers' power. If anything, what we should be doing is grading and teaching the teachers. We should be making sure their minds are opening up.
Well, yeah.
And just taking account of it, at least, rather than, like, basing your pay off of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, fuck, you want to talk about that? I could go for hours about dealing with that in my fucking school. I remember being taught by a history teacher that America was a Christian country.
Yep.
And, like, I remember, like, talking. I'm like, okay, but fundamentally, if you're a country that allows freedom of religion, how can you...
be a Christian country.
Yeah, how can you like perceive one ideology? Like
even if you are right, how does that work?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And then eventually it got to a point where he's just like, that's just the way it is. Like, shut up, essentially. And then that was it.
My 8th grade history teacher became my 9th grade history teacher. He like moved, with years. Yes.
Fuck.
The worst part was he was hardcore Republican. Most of my school was, but he was outspoken about it. And like, this is a God-fearing country. The Republicans have this right. Democrats are idiots that are gonna burn down this country. He hated me. Is the word I'll use. So much that halfway through my 8th grade year, he told me I couldn't talk, or I'd be like detention. He gave me detention a couple times unless he gave me the stick. No talking from you whatsoever. All my 9th grade year was that way. And he would ridicule me. When he would say a point and he know it'd be right-sided, he would say, or as Seth would say with the liberals.
Oh my God.
I know. What the fuck?
Did you ever complain or anything like that?
For what?
Yeah, that's kind of the problem. You can't.
Yeah, he's the basketball coach. You know what I mean? Yeah, like, who?
Yeah.
What do you do to who? There's no way anybody's going to do anything.
And that is like the biggest fucking problem that like, I don't know how we're gonna fix it, but it needs to be fixed. It's like that. The people who are doing that are in those positions where you can't fucking do anything about it.
Well, kids nowadays are changing things with phones in the classrooms and stuff. When somebody posts a picture of a teacher rapping a kid with a ruler and you see 16 million views, that teacher's fired.
Yeah,
like the school just now has not even applied pressure, but just viewed pressure. It's just that teacher's gone. That's how we do it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what's the term? When or it's like immunity, but not like when teachers like fuck up and then they just get
like the unionized type of thing.
Yeah. That's a really big problem.
Yeah, and I agree with unions. I like from where they come from. I don't agree with the current state of unions. I feel for most unions, they have been corporatized. Unions don't exist unless they're in a corporate reality now. This is a corporate world. And so that's the dissidence. They're not a human organization. It used to be a whole bunch of like, literally the dads coming and they're fucking mad.
Yeah.
They need this. That's not what's happening anymore.
I watched On the Waterfront the other day.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Yeah.
It used to be those fuckers.
That's not what's happening anymore.
No,
that's not it. But unions are needed, otherwise teachers make less than they do now, or they're going to be able to organize strikes and things like that. I don't know. It boggles me. I know we start with nothing and work our way forward, but it boggles me how resistant things are to things that seemingly are obvious to make things so much easier. It's not even better. It's just like, why? If every car had 3 tires and you figured out 4, they made it more balanced, wouldn't you start adding 4 tires to everything? Like, is that hard? Is this an argument? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That growing up boggles my mind that it's that difficult for everybody to like adjust like that. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying, that how people have such big predispositions to things. But that's kind of an interesting thing too, is like all that's based on your experience. And it's
and
hard.
Values?
That's true too. Like experience and value, which which probably comes from the experience in a way, you know, because like if you're taught certain values.
And that part I can't tell, it's the chicken or the egg.
Yeah.
Because experience definitely shapes your values, but so somebody born in a Republican family that then becomes Republican even though they're more moderate, is that in their blood? You know what I mean? Like, do you just see the world that way? Is that your perspective? Is your perspective always shifted?
I guess, see, I can offer some insight in this because that's kind of like exactly how you like literally kind of described me. I don't know. I guess like it's a different viewpoint, I suppose, because like for me personally, it's allowed me to see both.
Okay.
It's allowed me to see like
a wider view.
Cool. You know, let's just say that there, you know, 2 viewpoints. There's like a very basic, narrow-minded view that you can have about that point. Let's take climate change for instance.
Yep.
Just keep it what's going on right now. Climate change. You could either say you want climate change exists or climate change, not even exists. Like what to do. If you have that debate, there's 2 parts of the debate. Whether it's true and then like what are you going to do about it?
Right.
And that's the thing people like on that issue, for when you hear like that, and that's getting a lot better, but like when you hear that almost that childish talk about like whether it's real or not, like you're not thinking about it in the correct way. Like people need to have a wider view. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I totally get it. Yeah, an acceptance of the current reality.
Yes.
Like, why are you arguing the science behind this? Why don't we argue what we do about it or don't do about it? That type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, let's agree on starting somewhere or not starting somewhere.
Yeah, and I think you could apply that to like any problem that you see. Like, you can have a perspective. I don't know if you know this guy, and you might hate me for even mentioning this guy if you know him. Jordan B. Pearson. He's a psychologist.
Okay.
He has this thing, 12 Rules for Life, and I joke he's like the only religious person that I'll like really listen to. Okay. And one of his rules is to assume that the other person has something or is going to say something that you don't know.
Absolutely.
Like every conversation you have to go into that assuming that.
Yep.
And throughout the conversation, maybe you can learn that, okay, there's no common ground. We can't come to an agreement. This is just pointless. And
through that, it switches your intention. It allows you to engage in a way that you are seeking something you're looking for.
Exactly. And you are you're trying to change their perspective, and you're also trying to change your own perspective.
To come together. Yep.
And if anything, if even you disagree with that person at the end of the discussion, your argument has been strengthened because you've engaged with that person, and questions that you ask or things that you have a rebuttal to that, and you can use that to even formulate better.
And who knows what time does. A lot of the times when I say stuff to people, I can tell they can't understand what I'm saying. But who knows when the 6 weeks in the shower and they're thinking about it, and all of a sudden they're having a problem, and that hits them, and they're like, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, that's why you're hearing it. It's because you need it, that type of thing. I believe in that. I don't believe in fate, but I believe but I do believe in some kind of like, this is like already happened in some sense. We're choosing our elevation of that. So in that sense, I know that things will play out the way they play out. You know what I mean? And all you get to do is like poke it. You know.
Well, and that's kind of another thing too. Maybe this goes into what we've been talking about, psychedelics. Having the humbleness to realize, like, I am who I am. Like realizing how much of an impact you do or do not have in this world. Yeah. And like utilizing that as well. There's pure strength in that. Yeah. Because if you only have one control to your airplane, you better know where your fucking control's at. Stop lying like you have everything else. You know what I mean? Exactly. And it's like people like pouring all their time and energy into like social media and being like going back to kind of this everything that's been going on, that is like the thing that I've at least noticed in Des Moines is that there was a protest like right down the block, like over there yesterday, and I was driving by. I'm like, holy shit! There's so many. And like a week late, almost a week. Well, what would have been 5-6 days at that point?
Yep.
There were still so many people there. I mean, so this is obviously a change, but what's usually been the case is that people blast something on social media. A, usually to get attention, or B, to like reaffirm that they're part of this, whatever
group.
Yep. Exactly.
It's an identity.
Yep.
An egoistic identity and understanding of self, and that's all people are ever looking for, is a sense of self. That's all. I believe that's like, people say you're looking to be happy or whatever. I think that's like, everything emanates from that. Once you find yourself, you can be happy. You can find what you want to do. You are always where you need to be. You are always doing what you want to do. Like, it happens in the inverse effect. And it's not a level of like, I'm just going to be happy because I'm here. You know what I mean? It's something different. It comes off a different way when you're actually in it. It's more like, no, this is what I want to do. And you feel that way you can feel that way all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, fuck, dude. We've been going for a while. 2.5 hours.
Awesome.
Wow.
Good conversation.
I mean, so yeah, this is at least 2 hours. I mean, cuts and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this has been awesome, man.
Good.
I'm gonna get you back on soon. I want you and your wife both here.
I'll bring JC.
I want to pick apart both your brains. You have a very open-minded like perception, and regardless of that, I almost kind of want to get into that more. Probably with both of you here, you can kind of maybe go more into the business aspect and like what you guys do here in Des Moines. But you guys do a lot.
We do.
All your social media, it seems like you're working with a lot of people. Like, you're becoming a really big part of Des Moines. Hopefully, everything with all this can clear up and you can get back to it per se. But no, I really want to have you guys back on, pick your brain. This has been a fucking great podcast. I really hope everybody listening.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, I was appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We're signing off. I hope everybody has enjoyed this just as much as we have having this conversation. Very open and enlightened. I hope you guys were all drinking, smoking a joint, whatever, kicking back.
Yeah.
These are crazy times. Take the time to chill out. It's vital. You don't be in this shit all the time. You're gonna go crazy. Take some time to kick back and just like watch some TV. Well, in this case, listen to this podcast.
There you go. Close your eyes and listen.
Like I said, House of Leopold, half of last House of Leopold, I guess. Seth?
Yep.
It's been a great fucking time, man. McAllister Hour signing off. Next episode, we have Chef coming on, and we're going to talk about George Floyd. We're kind of get into all that. He has some really insightful footage, so we're just going to take that whole thing apart, get into that. It's going to be interesting.
Cool.
So stay tuned for that. We have more rappers and more artists coming on, so yeah. All right. Have a good night, y'all. Peace.